A pair of the Ravens' old guard return to the field tonight, looking sharp throughout the training camp. Super Bowl 47 MVP, the reliable number 5, will see his first game action since Week 11 of last season. Joining him off the injured list is a former NFL Defensive Player of the Year, known around these parts as T-Sizzle. Building off last week's dramatic ending, Joe Flacco, Terrell Suggs, and the Ravens look to put on a show at home under the lights of M&T Bank Stadium. It's the Lions-Ravens in Game 3 of the preseason.
Tonight, Joe Flacco and the Ravens are back in Baltimore as they welcome the Detroit Lions for the peak of the preseason, week number 3. A night Joe Flacco has waited for since week 11 a year ago when he suffered a season-ending knee injury. But tonight, he is back for his first game action of the preseason as he gets set for 2016. Good evening and welcome to M&T Bank Stadium. Jerry Sandusky with you. A pleasure to have your company on this Saturday evening as we get you set for the Ravens and the Lions. Ravens fans, Ravens coaches, Ravens players have waited for this night for almost a calendar year. The night that Joe Flacco returns, and with him, the Ravens hope, so too returns the path back to the postseason. The Ravens, of course, winning Super Bowl 47, and Joe Flacco was the MVP. He was the first rookie to start 16 games and lead his team to the playoffs, the first rookie to win a pair of playoff games. He has won more playoff games in the postseason on the road than any quarterback in NFL history. And tonight, he hopes that he starts the next phase of his career, that he picks it up with getting this team back on path for the postseason. I want to welcome in my broadcast partners, Stan White and Kadri Ismail. And Q, as you look at Joe Flacco, not only is that big having him back, but as he returns, he has some new targets to throw to in Ben Watson and Mike Wallace.
Yeah, I think Ozzie did a great job in the offseason of kind of getting some weapons for the young quarterback. And we're talking about, yes, Ben Watson. Ben Watson, coming off a fabulous year down in New Orleans, has a ton of life left in his legs. He is a very motivated player, a very experienced player, coming off a 74-catch season. So we're looking for big things for him to be that security blanket. And you're talking about one of the more explosive players in the league when you're talking about Mike Wallace. Of course, we know him from his days in Pittsburgh, but yeah, he's a guy that can blow the top off the coverage of a defense, and that's what you're looking for when you're talking about both of those guys coming in here and contributing to this offense.
And Stan White, defensively, the Ravens have seen a couple of really good quarterbacks. Tonight marks 3 weeks in a row. They'll face Pro Bowl caliber competition at quarterback. Cam Newton week 1, Andrew Luck week 2, and tonight Matthew Stafford and the Lions week 3.
Yes, and they have not fared very well against those first-team quarterbacks so far. No luck, as I guess you could say. You look at Cam Newton, 5 for 6. Andrew Luck, 4 for 4. 11 plays, 14 plays. No defensive coach likes to be out on the field that long. Now, they were happy they only end up in field goals, but you can't allow a team to dominate you that way. When you get to third down, you have to get off the field. And that means you got to get pressure and you got to have tight coverage.
And quarterback pressure, not the only pressure Ravens players will face tonight. Job pressure at stake as well, because there are cuts coming after this game. When we come back, we'll look on the field. Brent Harris will talk about the competition in the return game on the Ravens game day.
The depth charts and the position battles start to take shape throughout training camp of the preseason. There is one area on this team that is still up for grabs, and that is the return man. Now, at punt return, it looks like Michael Campanaro is the leader in the clubhouse, but the Ravens aren't ready to just give him the job. As special teams coordinator Jerry Rosburg said, quote, everybody has a job to gain, in my view. Michael is out there trying to win the job. Of course, challenging Campanaro is Keenan Reynolds, the former quarterback at Navy. He hasn't had a lot of opportunities returning, but he has been a gunner on special teams. He's made a couple of tackles there. Also, Lardarius Webb and Steve Smith could be the wild cards as return guys. But Jerry, tonight in this game, preseason game number 3, could be huge in determining who will be back returning kicks for the Ravens.
Couldn't agree more, Brent. Says John Harbaugh will take a look at this roster as it comes together. Remember, 2 days after tonight, the rosters in the NFL get cut down to 75, so decisions loom for John Harbaugh and his old offensive coordinator, Jim Caldwell, now in his 3rd season as the Detroit Lions head coach. And these two good friends, except for the next 3 hours, because for the next 3 hours here at M&T Bank Stadium, it's going to be a battle against Mother Nature with game time temperatures in the upper 80s, the heat index at 92 degrees as we get set to kick things off. And Mike Wallace will be deep for the Ravens who the Detroit Lions won the coin toss and have elected to defer, something you don't often see in preseason. So they'll use regular season strategy. And Mike Wallace as a returner, guys, perhaps tipping John Harbaugh's hand that he's not going to hold a spot on the roster just for a returner.
Well, I think this is the main thing about Mike Wallace. He is a burner, explosive capabilities, and yes, you are talking about a tight roster battle. So let's see what he brings to the table.
Wallace fields it 10 yards deep, lets it actually squirt out of the back of the end zone for a touchback. So we get to see Joe Flacco right out of the gate. And the drive will start at the 25-yard line. One of the wrinkles this year in the rule changes. Touchback puts the ball at the 25. So Joe Flacco, 279 days removed from his last game action. He has waited all offseason, all training camp, and he is eager to say the least. You'd never know it from his demeanor because he's always so even keel. But he said he wanted to get used to the emotion that is swirling here tonight. And on first down, Flacco will throw. Going deep, near sideline. Wallace is there, and Flacco overthrew him at the Lions' 40-yard line.
Wow, did we say overthrow Mike Wallace? I mean, that's a rare thing, but you also see Joe Flacco feeling like, you know what? I feel pretty doggone good about this arm, about this leg, and let's check the protection. Sound protection. No worries about the knee injury at all.
One of the Ravens is down on the field right now. Ben Watson.
Ben Watson shaking up.
Yeah. It was funny, before the play, I saw Marshall Yanda go over and give Haloti Ngata a high five, and then Haloti Ngata lined up on Marshall on that play, and Marshall did a good job of blocking Haloti.
John Harbaugh has gone out to take a look at his veteran tight end. If you watch the right side of your screen, you'll see what happened to Ben Watson. He just appeared to maybe tangle his feet with Kamar Akins and then went down to the turf.
Yeah, that is odd. I'm not going to speculate, but I'm sure Brent will have an update on exactly what happened. But he came into camp looking really, really sharp and strong. And you know, sometimes when you have that awkward foot plant, there's a numerous of lower extremity injuries that could be, and hopefully it won't be something major. And we were talking about changing from the synthetic surface to a natural grass to have the guys have a little bit more give in their step, so you wouldn't happen to have, you know, injuries that could be turf related.
Well, he goes to the locker room. Brent Harris will get us an update when that becomes available. Second down and 10. Flacco again to throw. His pass complete to Kamar Akins across the 35 out to the 40-yard line. A gain of 15 and a Ravens first down.
I think more than anything, you just see Joe Flacco ho-hum, back at it. Knee feels fine. Step into the throw. Hey, look, there's Kamar Akins. I know this guy. Let me give him the football.
Justin Forsett alone in the backfield. And he'll get his first carry. And Forsett grinds across the 40, pick up only one when Ziggy Ansah can bring him down. Q, take us through your offensive keys tonight.
Well, you know, more than anything, I think it's about Joe Flacco. You know, this is the dress rehearsal game, so let's go ahead and look at the offense, feeling the pressure, and how does Joe Flacco, react with the pressure around him. Obviously, this is dress rehearsal, so it is getting ready for week one. And, of course, you're talking about the team building its confidence since you are looking at all the starters going to be playing an extended period of time.
Second and 9 off the play fake. A strike to Mike Wallace at the Lions' 40-yard line. He's taken down at the Detroit 39 by Glover Quinn, but not before Joe Flacco zips a perfect pass and another Ravens first down.
So this is the confidence that you're talking about. Little play action. You know, the one thing we talked to Joe about was the fact that you're looking at, you know, just good protection with Ronnie Stanley, of course. The ho-hum job that he's done, that's what you want to have is ho-hum. But Mike Wallace is more of a complete threat than you realize. He's not just about going down the field. He's a good, solid, strong receiver.
And I want to underscore, when Q says ho-hum, that's a compliment.
Big compliment.
Flacco fakes the inside handoff, throws complete near side to Kamar Akins. Akins muscles his way down to the 30-yard line, where he'll be just about a half a yard shy of a first down. We want to go down to the field and check in with Brent Harris, who has an update on Ben Watson.
Jerry, Ben Watson into the locker room. He's having his right leg looked at. I can tell you, as he went down the steps, he put no weight on it. Both of his shoulders holding that weight from the doctors on either side of him. We'll let you know as we get an update, but he's in the locker room now having it looked at.
Thank you, Brent. Kenneth Dixon in the game, gets the handoff from Flacco, steps through some traffic and gets down to the 25-yard line. The Ravens will pick up another first down. All right, guys, the fact that we see a rookie, Kenneth Dixon, in the backfield so soon, what do you read into that?
Well, I just think they really like him an awful lot. I know John Harbaugh talked glowingly of him, and you can see the other rookie, Alex Lewis, giving him a hole to run through. You know, this is what you're looking at with Dixon, the ability to make something out of nothing, always going forward, always being positive with his yards and carries.
Now Justin Forsett with Flacco in the backfield. Opening drive of week 3. Flacco under pressure, rolls to his left, escapes pressure, throws a check down to Forsett, and Forsett taken down at the 22-yard line. So that's a major step for Joe Flacco.
Yes, running.
Gain pressure, and he shows he can elude it.
No, I just like the way, Joe, basically, he's just going through his reads. And again, this is what we've seen throughout camp. Obviously, just getting rid of the football, not taking any unnecessary hits, but we've seen this from Joe, and it's good to see that he's getting it in live action.
I'm sure John Harbaugh was saying, throw it, throw it.
Second down and 6. Forsett hits as he takes the handoff and tripped up. He may have lost half a yard on the play. Sherry Thornton in the backfield for the Lions.
This is an offensive line that I think is much better than last year, and I think Mark Trestman feels confident with this group and allowing them to just go ahead and do more run blocking because of the fact that you feel good about your run game and your assignments, as well as the stable of running backs that he has at his disposal.
It's Joe's first 3rd and long in this whole drive.
3rd down and 7. Flacco out of the gun. Blitz pressure coming. Flacco steps up and he throws incomplete. Looking for Kamar Aiken close to the 10-yard line, and the drive will stall just outside the Grillmates red zone, and that brings the kicking team on and Justin Tucker.
I think with that throw, that's something that, again, Joe is saying feel the pressure. They brought pressure. It basically was a good, strong, solid pocket. I think initially Kamar Aiken was expecting the ball a lot sooner. That's where, again, he's looking, and obviously you can see where Joe is talking to Mark Trestman and John Harbaugh about, just what he saw and what he felt, and that's something that you got to clean up, but they'll get it.
40-yard field goal try for Justin Tucker. Kick on the way, and it is good. 10:54 to play in the opening quarter of week 3 of the preseason, and the Ravens in front. 3-0 in front of the Lions on the Ravens Game Day Network. Drive of this game, it leads to a Justin Tucker field goal. The Geico scoring drive, 10 plays, 53 yards, a little more than 4 minutes consumed off the clock, and Joe Flacco 4 of 6 for 48 yards passing on his first game action in 279 days.
Boy, I just thought he looked really composed, and you saw the 2 rookies over on the left side. I mean, it was no big deal for them to go out there and get into the groove and provide good pocket protection for Joe. I thought he scrambled around well. Overall, I mean, they didn't score, so I can't necessarily give them an A, but I thought they looked good, solid. I would say a good solid B+.
Now Justin Tucker will kick off to Dwayne Washington. Tucker hits it high and short, and this one will be fielded on the run at the 12. Washington across the 20, stuffed at the 23. The flag is down. Back at the Ravens 40-yard line. Chris Carter on the stop.
Yeah, flag is at the line, almost where you're almost offsides maybe on the kickoff. Yes, that's what the call is.
Not the worst thing in the world if you have to do a kickoff over, though they'll probably just tack it on to the end of the kick because you don't practice live kickoffs in training camp.
Kicking team. Number 39 will add 5 yards to the end of the play. First down.
10:50 to play opening quarter here in Baltimore, where the Ravens lead the Lions 3-0 on the Ravens Game Day Network. Special moment here at M&T Bank Stadium. Olympic wrestling gold medal winner Helen Maroulis, a Maryland native, getting a standing ovation from this Ravens crowd at M&T Bank Stadium. She had a chance to visit with John Harbaugh in the tunnel beneath the stadium next to the Ravens locker room. He was so impressed with the conversation, he asked her to address the team. So a very special lady. She showed him his gold medal, and he said, well, that is the sign of a champion. Of course, around here on Mondays, the sign of a champion comes from Papa John's. Every Monday after a Ravens win, you get 50% off regular menu priced items. PapaJohns.com, promo code Ravens50. Papa John's, the official pizza of your Baltimore Ravens. And, of
Dan's
course,
trying to wrestle me for it.
Well, I like it. They got a defensive player instead of Peyton Manning. Now they got J.J. Watt on the front. All right.
so
now
that
we're
means the
getting better.
defensive player gets the pizza first?
That's
You can have
exactly
it. You
right.
can have it.
All right.
I'll go ahead. Give it to you.
I'm just second the cookies in here.
3 weeks in, they've learned how to share. We're making progress here in the preseason. And now we get a look at Terrell Suggs for the first time this preseason, back from a torn Achilles tendon a year ago in the season opener. Matthew Stafford on first down. His pass is dropped at the 35-yard line. Matthew Stafford, the third straight week the Ravens will see a Pro Bowl quarterback here in preseason. And Matthew Stafford, his problem has always been staying healthy. If he can stay healthy, he is as good and as accurate a quarterback as you're going to find in this league.
Yeah, and they got some good receivers for him, including Anquan Bolden.
For the ground game, Amir Abdullah with his first preseason action, and Terrell Suggs right there to stop him at the line of scrimmage. Guys, how good does it feel for Suggs stand to make that play?
Yeah, no doubt. Because we've always talked about he's a great pass rusher, but he is as good as anybody at setting the edge. He just manhandled the tight end on that play, set the edge. They tried to bounce it outside, and he had the athletic ability to squeeze it down and still contain it.
Forces the Lions into a third down and long on Detroit's first possession of the game. Stafford will have to wait as the flags indicate a false start.
Yes, they jumped the right tackle.
False start, number 71, offense. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
Stan, what are your defensive keys?
Well, first down, stop the run. Third down, get off the field. And all downs, when they throw the ball, pressure the quarterback. That's what you need in today's game. They throw the ball so much, you've got to start with pressuring the quarterback.
The official stopping the Lions from snapping the ball.
Here's a perfect opportunity, 3rd and 15, Jerry. You want to let loose, boy. You can just rear back and go after the quarterback. You know, you do look for screens and draws and different things like that, but if you're going to get pressure, this is where to go. They're going to show them a full front and drop some guys.
3rd down and 14 for the Lions. See if the Ravens bring the blitz pressure that they are showing at the line. Matthew Stafford checking out of his play. 4 receiver set, which includes former Raven Anquan Bolden. Comes a blitz. Stafford throws far sideline, well covered, and a flag thrown on the incompletion. Jimmy Smith had the coverage on a pass intended for Golden Tate.
Well, they brought pressure that time. Jimmy had the tight coverage. Again, this league, if you touch somebody, the receivers just got it so good, Q. If you touch them, they call interference.
Frustrating for John
down,
Harbaugh
that's
and Dean
interference.
Pease, who have been coaching these players throughout the summer, trying to make sure they're in position to make plays. It'll be interesting to see the replay after the call, which is going to be interference.
Pass interference, number 22, defense. Ball will be placed in the spot of the foul, first down.
Jeff Triplett with the call. Stan, what do you think?
See, to me, that's not interference. They're both fighting for the ball. They both have an opportunity to go for the ball. The offensive guy almost jumped into Jimmy. Yeah. Of course, if I'm an offensive guy, that's what I would do too, because you get those calls.
I suspect Dean Pease agrees with you, exactly. 1st and 10 for the Lions. Stafford throws complete at the line, and darting forward is Marvin Jones, the former Cincinnati Bengal, taken down by C.J. Mosley.
Yeah, they wanted to stop this quarterback, and they had, the first string quarterback. They hadn't done a good job. They had him stop there, and the penalty keeps it alive. Here again, though, first down. If you make that tackle, it's a 3-4 yard gain. But because you missed the tackle, it turns into a 7-yard gain. 2nd and 3, whole lot different. 2nd, 7 or 8.
9 minutes to play in the opening quarter. Ravens in front, 3-0. Amir Abdullah, the lone back. Terrell Suggs getting his first game action of the preseason. Off the play fake. Stafford with a deep drop, has plenty of time, lofts it downfield, and it is off the hands of Terrence Brooks, who had a gift interception waiting for him, and he couldn't reel it in.
You got him. How often have we said in this league, if you touch the ball on a defensive player, you have to catch. You don't get that many opportunities. You have to catch it. I was talking to Levine in the locker room after last game, and he had watched our first broadcast and said, remember he had that one-handed catch he couldn't make? And he said, oh, that was such a hard catch. And I said, no, in this league, you got to make that catch when you get the opportunity.
I'm down with the sickness with that one.
And instead of a turnover, the Ravens now have to turn back defensively and look at a 3rd down and short for the Lions at the Detroit 48. Screen pass drops, incomplete. Amir Abdullah started to run before he had possession of the ball. He leaves it on the turf, and the punt team will come on for the Lions.
Well, the Ravens came with the 0 blitz with bringing everybody. That's the go-to play in the NFL anymore against the blitz is the quick screen. Got one guy blocking the other and taking up 2 guys because his man follows him, and then he blocks, and the man's wide open.
Michael Campanaro is deep for the punt, and this is a big focal point for the Ravens tonight. They have to find a punt and a kick returner before that September 11th start against the Buffalo Bills.
As you said, Jerry, it's got to be somebody who can make the team.
High end over end punt. Campanaro will settle under it and makes the fair catch at the 12-yard line. So Joe Flacco back on the field when we get back. 8:36 to play, first quarter. Ravens 3, Lions nothing on the Ravens Game Day Network. Quarter, Coach Harbaugh saw so much of this a year ago. Devastating injuries. Tonight starts with another one of them. We go down to the field and an update on Ben Watson from Brent Harris.
Jerry, worst possible news for Benjamin Watson. Ravens have confirmed Watson suffering a torn right Achilles. The veteran tight end out for this season. Jerry?
Wow. Tight end who was going to be such a huge part of the offensive scheme. 74 receptions a year ago with the Saints in New Orleans, and now his season ends on the first play here in week 3 of the preseason. Kenneth Dixon will carry on first down, but has nothing open in the front of the line, so he stopped for no gain. 2nd and 10.
Boy, that's just such a devastating loss. You're talking about, a veteran locker room presence, a guy who came into camp coming off a great year the previous year, and now John Harbaugh and company, they have to figure out again, who's going to be the guy as far as the tight end for the Ravens.
A position that just in one play went from a strength to a question. Flacco on 2nd and 10. Pumps once and he released it prematurely, incomplete. Intended, I think, for Kenneth Dixon. All right, the depth chart tonight. Yet Ben Watson, Dennis Pitta, who has a fractured finger and has not been able to practice since early in training camp. Crockett Gilmore, who now becomes the focal point of the position. Max Williams, also a focal point. Daniel Brown has been a nice, pleasant surprise, a former wide receiver. Nick Boyle, Darren Waller, both facing suspension. So Mark Trestman can't rely on them too heavily since they will both disappear once the regular season starts on September 11th. 3rd down and long. Flacco throws quickly, and his pass is complete to Mike Wallace at the 25-yard line. The Ravens needed 10. They get 12.
Yeah, this is what Mike Wallace is going to have to bring to the table. It's not just about going down the football field. It's about catching intermediate passes. You can just see right there on the slant route, gets inside the defender really nice and quick. Darius Slay is saying to himself, man, I thought I was going to get beat deep. I had to respect the deep speed.
Yeah, Joe Flacco was raving about Mike Wallace, not just his deep speed, but how crisp his routes are and how good his hands been.
Flag is down as Flacco looks to throw. Pocket collapsing. He escapes. And it'll be down for a loss of about 1 at the 24-yard line. All right, let's collectively hold our breath until we see it. Flacco gets up and he walks back to the huddle. That is a subtle play in preseason. Enormous psychologically for Joe Flacco. His first sack since suffering a knee injury a year ago.
Well, he talked about, what he's going to be feeling. He knows that with his knee brace on, he's going to wear it for the rest of the year. And he told us, he wants to make sure that it's
illegal formation offense. The wideout covered up the tight end, making it an illegal formation. That penalty's declined. 2nd down.
He wants to make sure it's okay, and it's not about the little small hits that can affect him, because he knows with the knee brace on, it's a more psychological thing, and feeling pretty good about it.
Flacco facing a 2nd down and 11. Quick release out of the backfield. Justin Forsett across the 30, 35, and tumbling into the Lions bench. He'll be just shy of a 1st down. So Flacco goes 122 consecutive games, 5th longest quarterback consecutive game starting streak in the history of the NFL.
Amazing.
As a veteran, how hard is it to start that all over again, Stan?
Well, it's you just aren't used to it. You don't know how to prepare. His whole offseason was so different this year. But as I've said before, he has reshaped his body. I think he's in better shape now than he maybe ever has been.
3rd down and short. Forsett with a carry, barrels his way across the 35-yard line, and he will get the 1st down as DeAndre Levy finally brings him down. We've talked, check that was Terrence West. We've talked so much about Joe Flacco's comeback. Justin Forsett's season ended on the exact same game, the Rams game of Week 11 a year ago.
Yeah, had that compound fracture of his forearm.
And that opened the door now for guys like Terrence West and Kenneth Dixon. But I don't think it's fair to overlook that Justin Forsett looks phenomenal this summer as well.
Exactly. So many times when you have to rehab, you change your whole body. 1st
and 10. Flacco wants to throw. Quick release. He's got Wallace on the far sideline. And he'll be spun down at the 42-yard line.
Ooh, I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, boy, if Tavon Wilson didn't wrap him up good, you just could sense that was going to go to the house.
Hanging on.
88 and out the gate. I mean, that's what Mike Wallace brings. He's Mr. Excitement. Gonna get a lot of safeties headaches as they watch film and get nervous as far as making sure they're in their back pedal.
Ravens know Mike Wallace from his days with the Steelers. Had a pair of 1,000-yard seasons in Pittsburgh. Ravens would like to see that number return this year. Flags again for the Ravens, who will be penalized for a false start.
Number 72, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
But to go back to Mike Wallace, he brings speed. Stan, you touched on the fact he's a better route runner than Joe Flacco expected. He's got better hands than Flacco expected. And you can tell here in the early going of Week 3, Flacco has already established a rapport with him.
No doubt. And you'd love to have that deep threat because you have to put an extra man over there, and it opens it up for everybody else. If you don't, then you go to him on those short routes. He saw a corner blitz coming. Joe got rid of it quick.
Yep.
At safety, has to come over and make an open field tackle. You missed one of those, and he's gone.
Joe Flacco takes a timeout. We'll step aside. 4:58 to play 1st quarter. Ravens 3, Lions nothing on the Ravens game. Quarter. Here's your chance to win a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Predict the Ravens' 53-man roster as close as possible by September 2nd, and you could win 2 club tickets to the Ravens' season-opening game against the Buffalo Bills here at M&T Bank Stadium on September 11th. 2 pregame sideline passes and a Joe Flacco autographed jersey. Pretty cool combination. Play today at BaltimoreRavens.com/you pick the team. Jerry Stan, Q and U, live from the Verizon broadcast booth. Brent Harris down on the field, and now a roster concern for Ozzie Newsome, who has lost Ben Watson. Flacco throws complete to Kenneth Dixon out of the backfield on 2nd down and long, and Dixon will pick up about 9. So for Ozzie Newsome, the concern was you couldn't keep 6 wide receivers, 4 tight ends, and 4 running backs. That scenario changes now, and Ozzie Newsome and John Harbaugh have to rethink the way they're going to shape this roster offensively.
You're also looking at, just injuries around the league. You got a strength at quarterback as far as depth there, and the Dallas Cowboys have issues with their quarterback situation. So a lot of trades are going to be happening come final cut day.
Flacco throws complete to Kyle Juszczyk on 3rd down out of the backfield. Juszczyk picks up 3. He needed 1. The drive stays alive with 4:15 left in the opening quarter.
Yeah, they're going to the running backs 2 plays in a row here, and they love Dixon and the yardage he can get. This time the fullback sneaks out of the backfield, and there's nobody there quick enough to stop him from that 1 or 2 yard gain. Especially a safety is not going to bring him down with the first contact.
Justin Forsett back in the game. Flacco with a play fake. Deep drop, throws a strike to Mike Wallace, but they'll say it skipped off the turf. Flacco put that ball the only place the defensive back, Nevin Lawson, couldn't get to it, but it came in just a touch low, incomplete.
We used to call this all curl deep, where you would have a guy just go up there and run the deeper curl route. That was a great throw. Boy, it looked like it was in his belly, and it slid down onto the ground, and it was incomplete. We would have to call that not good.
Great
but
throw,
you can see where Joe stepped up into it. You're absolutely right, Stan. Real solid throw.
Sets up a 2nd down and 10. Flacco 9 of 13 here in the opening quarter. Pulls down the floating snap. Tosses to his tight end Crockett Gilmore, who is drilled into the turf at the Lions' 49-yard line. Joe Flacco told us this week when we had a chance to visit with him that there were 6 things he wanted to accomplish tonight. The preparation for getting back into the cycle for game day, dealing with the emotions of game day, getting hit, take that off the list, holding on to the ball when he gets hit, he's done that, timing in a live pocket, which he looked pretty sharp, and standing in the pocket when it starts to collapse. So he is right on schedule for this first game action of the 2016 season. Looking at a 3rd down and 8. They'll want to throw. Pass across the middle is complete to Jeremy Butler, but shy of the first down. He had to get to the 41. Butler taken down to the 44 by Darius Slay.
Looks like they're going to go for it, Jerry. It's preseason.
I would say, hey, go ahead and do what you got to do. But this is good man-to-man coverage, and that's just a good man beater. However, now you're talking about trying to break a tackle, and for Butler, it's those bigger plays. It's not just doing your job, but doing your job extremely well and making something out of nothing.
10th reception this preseason for Jeremy Butler. He leads the NFL in preseason receptions. 4th down and 3. Flacco out of the gun. Here comes the blitz. Flacco lobs it incomplete at the 30-yard line, and that was one where Flacco and Wallace were not on the same page, and you think they probably will be a month from now, but Wallace came short. Flacco went long. Lions ball when we get back. 2:23 to play first quarter. Ravens 3-0 on the Ravens game day network. It 3-0. We've seen Joe Flacco have an impact in this game. We felt and heard Terrell Suggs' impact before the game even started.
That team over there, they know exactly who we are and what they're in for. Do not disappoint them. Get their ass a face full of Ravens. Ravens on 3. 1, 2, 3.
And Terrell Suggs' impact felt very much on the field. The first possession, he's setting the edge, he's stuffing the run, and he wants to get to Matthew Stafford here as the Lions take possession. 1st and 10 on the Detroit 45. Stafford to the ground game. Amir Abdullah. And Terrell Suggs is right there to greet him again. So much like Joe Flacco, Terrell Suggs clearly ready for his return tonight.
Yeah, did a good job. They came with a little run blitz up the middle, and the Lions ran right into it. But see how he stuffs the fullback, stuffs the tight end, stands him up, controls him completely with his hands, and comes off. That's squeezing down on the edge, making the play. We saw it outside before and inside this time. Tough job, but he does it as good as anybody in the league.
2nd down and 7. Stafford will hand it off to Abdullah, and Abdullah is going to be stood up after a 1-yard gain to the Lions 49. John Harbaugh told us he wanted this to become a great run defense again. He wanted that to be the fabric, the personality of this team. The return of Terrell Suggs has such an impact in that area.
No doubt. When you can squeeze that down, it makes everybody else's area to cover that much smaller. So when you get off that block, you may only have a half a step rather than a step and a half, and that's a big difference in this league.
Sets up a 3rd down and 6 for the Lions. Stafford looking to throw under blitz pressure. His pass across the middle is caught for a 1st down at the Ravens 43-yard line. And that is Marvin Jones who gets the reception. The Ravens know plenty about Marvin Jones, the longtime number 2 receiver in Cincinnati. He joins Anquan Bolden to help rebuild or retool the Lions passing game after the surprise retirement of Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, with Golden Tate out there too, they have a pretty good trio there.
1st and 10 Lions at the Ravens 43. Stafford with time. His pass to the far sideline, almost intercepted, but caught by Marvin Jones. Jimmy Smith made a break on the ball. Looked like he had a chance to pull it down. Instead, the Lions pick up a 1st down with an 11-yard gain.
Well, he went for it with 2 hands. If he'd have went for it with 1, he would have knocked it down. But he went for the catch, and you can't reach as far with 2 as you can with 1. You make that gamble. If you think you can get it, you got to take that opportunity.
Yeah,
He's lost.
You got to make the gamble, and you got to go ahead and make sure you win on that bet.
Pistol formation. Abdullah will carry, tries to get around the left edge, cuts inside the tackle. 20, 15. That'll be taken down by Jimmy Smith, but not before an 11-yard gain and a Lions 1st down to end the first quarter. 15 minutes in the books at our score. Ravens 3, Lions nothing. Jimmy Smith and the defense will have to put on the brakes to start the second quarter. The return of Joe Flacco and Terrell Suggs highlighting the night. Let's see if the veterans can finish things strong as we continue on the Ravens Game Day Network. Jerry, Stan, Q, and you live from the Verizon broadcast booth. Brent Harris with us down on the field. Stan, take us through Matt Judon, the rookie out of Grand Valley State, number 91 on the right side of the screen. How is he playing against the first teamers?
Well, we talk about setting the edge, and that means squeezing. He takes it here, but then he gets pushed way out here and opens all these gaps in the middle. Watch what he does, how he gets pushed to the outside. He comes off, and then look how wide that gets, and look at that big hole that it creates.
I know Captain Lewis Moore needs to do a better job of filling in that space as well. Both players need to do a better job of teaming up on the offensive lineman.
Matthew Stafford on first down, throws to Theo Riddick out of the backfield, sidesteps Eric Weddle and works his way down inside the 15-yard line. He'll pick up about 7 on the play as he got most of that yardage with a swim move over top of Eric Weddle before Zach Gore can make the stop.
Well, that was a hot receiver. They brought more than they could block. That's what the Ravens wanted. All you got to do is make the open field tackle. Eric Weddle usually makes that tackle. But if you have confidence, you have that great running back. They also have Reggie Bush. He does that very well, too. I've been made look awful bad at open field tackle like that in my career, that's for sure.
Amir Abdullah back in the backfield. He sets behind Stafford. They give this to Abdullah, sweeping to the right side, gets around the edge. 10-5, touchdown Lions. But a flag is down at the 15-yard line.
It's coming.
Yeah, when you get that type of edge and there's nobody out there, it's usually holding.
Holding, number 89, offense. 10-yard penalty, still second down.
We saw him earlier. Remember Terrell Suggs manhandled him on the block on the edge earlier. This time, he just grabs and holds. Luckily for the Ravens, because he had a good block. He probably didn't have to hold, but he let him go. No, it's 89 right here. He grabs the hold right there.
That is paws all over Albert McClellan. So instead of 7 points, the Lions get back up 10 yards and look at a second down and 13 from the Ravens 25. Ravens lead 3-0. First minute of the second quarter. Here comes the blitz. Stafford throws complete. Anquan Bolden's first catch of the night inside the 20-yard line and drilled by C.J. Mosley at the Ravens 17.
Yeah, he almost got that ball out. You see how they're trying to get the ball out? Remember last year that was really a drought of turnovers, both interceptions and fumble recoveries. They're really working on trying to get the football out, grabbing it, and right there you saw C.J. Mosley almost getting that out from Anquan. Anquan's pretty strong.
Yes, he is.
Stafford will go with the empty backfield on 3rd down and 5 at the Ravens 17. Ravens lead by 3. Stafford throws quickly, his pass complete to Bolden, and Bolden stretching the ball down the sideline on Tavon Young. And he's going to get enough for the first down. That is a veteran working on a rookie. Young thought he had Bolden shy of the sticks, and then as Bolden makes the turn, he has such great field awareness that he picks up the first down.
He backed off too quick.
Yeah, you're talking about an extremely strong individual in Anquan Bolden. You're going to learn real quickly in this league. It's a game of tight inches and strength.
Because they may have told him that because they know Anquan would push off if he got another two. He's so strong he can push off again.
On the 11-yard line, Stafford lobs it to the end zone, overthrows his target. He was looking for Marvin Jones. Sharice Wright had the coverage.
That's positive. We talked about the tight coverage with Jimmy Smith and Sharice Wright. Down here is the toughest coverage of them all because you're going to be all by yourself and you have to play the back shoulder and the fade over the top. And Sharice did a really good job on that play.
Claimed off waiver from San Francisco before week 6 of last year. Sharice Wright and Jimmy Smith, not just a starting tandem, they played high school ball together. They're best friends, and now they're starting together in the NFL. 2nd and 10. Stafford with a full complement of backs beside him, wants to throw, pumps, swings it out of the backfield to his fullback Michael Burton, and Burton will be taken down. Jimmy Smith got the start, Eric Weddle got the finish, and the Lions are going to look at 3rd down and about 8 from the 10.
Well, you couldn't ask for anything more defensively. To throw to your fullback in the open field, behind the line of scrimmage, down here in tough territory, in scoring red zone. Right there, you should ask him to do that because you know you should always be able to make that tackle.
Can't get a first down if they get it down to the 2-yard line. Stafford with Riddick in the backfield. The Ravens rush 3. Stafford has time. Slip to the right. Slings it to the back of the end zone. Incomplete. He was looking for Marvin Jones. Jones was looking for the flag, and it's none of the above for the Detroit Lions. The kicking team will come on.
Remember, when he breaks the pocket, you can make contact with the receiver then when he breaks the pocket.
It's all fair game, yes.
And just does a good job. This is what we talked about, the pressure. If you don't get to him quick, those guys get to run all over the place, the receivers, and it's tough to stay with him. So give the Raven defense credit. That was a tough coverage when he breaks the pocket like that, and they stayed close enough to cause the incompletion.
Yeah, Tavon Young, one of the guys in the battle for that slot corner position, that third cornerback position. Matt Prater, who holds the NFL record for the longest kick, a 64-yarder. His much shorter attempt is up and good. So Prater connects, gets the Lions on the board, and with 12:06 to play in the first half, we are tied at 3 in Baltimore on the Ravens Game Day Network. First half, Joe Flacco looking like his work might be done for the evening. 11 of 16, 94 yards, put together a scoring drive, no touchdowns, but he hit everything on his 6-point checklist. He took a hit, he took a sack, he stepped up in a collapsing pocket, he was accurate. He started to show some of his rapport with Mike Wallace. The only downside of his time on the field was the loss of Ben Watson on the first play with the Achilles injury. But I think you have to score this night as a huge success for Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I think, you talked about all the things that he wanted to accomplish. I like the way he was able to get in a good rapport with Mike Wallace. Same old with him and Kamar Aiken. I just thought he looked really good and efficient.
Chris Moore is deep. He'll take the kick, but he has a foot on the back line, and that'll be a touchback. So the Ravens will have it at the 25-yard line. I like the idea that the rookie was going to try to bring it all the way out because he knows you make the team by making plays. You don't impress anybody with a touchback.
Yeah, regular season, the rule would be when you're on the end line, you keep it in the end zone, especially with the ball coming out to the 25-yard line in today's game, because you have to have a 35-yard return to get to the 25 just to be even.
Ryan Mallett in for the first work of the evening. Last year, Mallett throwing for more than 1,300 yards with the Houston Texans. But things went south for Mallett in Houston. Had to do some growing up. He said he matured a lot. Losing his job in Houston, getting another one with Baltimore has helped him immensely. Flips it to Michael Campanaro on the end around across the 30-35. And Campanaro with a 12-yard gain on first down will move the chains.
Sorry, got that little tap on the butt from John Harbaugh. Well, they know what he can do. I mean, it's a nice, good opportunity to get the ball into his hands on a little quick screen action there.
A rocket sweep, right?
Speed
yes,
sweep.
Yes,
speed sweep. Yep.
Speed sweep. But that being said, it's all about him getting up and being healthy and not being injured, because we know that he is a talented player. He's absolutely produced. It's now all about him just staying out there on the football field.
First and 10 Ravens at their 36. Mallett hands it off. And there's Kenneth Dixon across the 45 out near midfield. And the former running back from Louisiana Tech is showing that he has not only locked up a spot on this roster, but guys, he's got to have a spot in the game plan, because every time he touches the ball, something explosive happens.
Well, he is such a dynamic player. I mean, he has a sense for the end zone in college. He's clearly carrying it over into training camp. Had a little banged up knee, but that did not slow him down in the least bit. We're just seeing him on full display tonight.
Dixon again with a carry. Again, he moves the pile into Lions territory to the 46-yard line of Detroit. In fairness to the offensive line, they gave him 2 real nice blocks there. And as we talk about line play, I want to take a moment and send out all of our best wishes to Ravens defensive line coach, Clarence Brooks, probably one of the most highly thought of assistant coaches on John Harbaugh's staff and in the NFL. Is a guy who's loved by many. He's been fighting esophageal cancer, and one of the, we're talking with Coach Harbaugh about Clarence Brooks this week. Everybody sends you our best wishes, our love, and our thoughts for a speedy recovery, Clarence. Ryan Mallett's pass is complete to Chris Moore, the rookie out of Cincinnati, making a play. A Lions player shaken up. To hear Whitehead, a very important part of that Lions defense, shaken up at the end of that. To go back to Clarence Brooks.
Yeah.
Clarence Brooks, the last remaining member of Brian Billick's staff, still on the staff. He's become a senior assistant and hopes to have an impact as this year unfolds, and we certainly hope that for Clarence as well. Tied at 3, second quarter on the Ravens Game Day Network. If you have a question for our broadcast team in tonight's broadcast, ask away. You can ask it on Twitter using hashtag RavensBooth, and then watch for your answer here during the broadcast. Tied at 3, 10-11 to play. First half, Steve Smith Sr. back in practice. He is starting to settle back in, not in uniform tonight. The Ravens are not going to let him play in game action until the September 11th opener against the Buffalo Bills. But as you would expect, he was catching up with his old friend Anquan Boldin. Anquan Boldin Haloti Ngata, a couple of guys who meant a great deal to this Ravens Super Bowl season back in Super Bowl 47. Steve Smith Sr. Anquan, both two very tough veterans. Here's Darren Waller, the tight end, on the reception down the far sideline, inside the 10. That'll be knocked out of bounds at the 5-yard line by Glover Quinn. Well, the injury to Ben Watson certainly sets up a different type of a future for Darren Waller, who is suspended for the first 4 games of the upcoming season. But unlike a much longer suspension, he still factors into the Ravens' plans early this year.
Yeah, you know, I like the way he plays. He has a ton of upside talent. This is a former receiver they moved to tight end. So, yes, he is an explosive guy.
The Grill Mates red zone. Ryan Mallett will hand it off. Terrence West running between the hash marks. Can't get very far. He may have gotten half a yard on the play. They'll spot him at the 4.
And he was an inline tight end there, Q.
Yeah.
You ever do that?
Well, no. We allow the big guys to be the big guys and the speedy guys on the outside to be the speedy guys on the outside.
But they've been raving about him and his potential to be a tight end. They think he can be a premier tight end in this league.
Ryan Mallett under center. He'll roll to his right, trying to buy some time, pumps it and throws it out of bounds. Flag is down at the 3-yard line.
Quarterback's out of the pocket.
That's Jeff Triplett, the referee, indicating they will pick the flag up.
Or wait. They have a meeting of the minds of the...
Chris Moore was wide open in the end zone, and I can't believe he didn't see him because he was should have been right in his field of vision.
I think that pressure kind of gets to you a little bit. You kind of put your head down as you keep your
There's
head
no
up.
foul for illegal contact since the quarterback was out of the pocket when the contact occurred.
We talked about that earlier. Once he gets outside the pocket.
Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification for our radio partners on tonight's simulcast. This is the Ravens Game Day Network. So Mark Trestman and the Ravens offense in the Grill Mates red zone, looking at a 2nd and goal from the Lions 4. All tied at 3, just under 9 minutes to play. Ryan Mallett trying to finish off this drive. The Ravens offense more than 170 yards here in the first half, but only 3 points to show for it.
This is going to be a critical red zone play right here. Talking about, you know, just trying to get the right personnel into the game.
I said 2nd down. It is 3rd down. 3rd down and 5. The Ravens 3 of 5 on 3rd down conversions tonight.
Yeah, they had to make him change it. The yard marker did say 2nd.
So I'm not losing my mind entirely. And now Jim Caldwell sprinting down the far sideline will take a timeout.
Look like Usain Bolt sprinting down the sideline. Wow.
I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, he just picked him up.
Thinking like he may have been.
Yeah, he was.
Usain Bolt.
Could have pulled a hamstring, but he didn't.
So we'll take a look at that last play as Ryan Mallett rolled out. You were saying Chris Moore was wide open.
Yeah, you know, when you look at this is a good crossing route. And this is where, again, I know, so yes, he looks like he's wide open, but that pressure is in Mallett's face. And I've seen it time and time again. Quarterbacks say, look, I know you thought you were wide open, but when I was ready to throw it, I just didn't have the ability to go ahead and just let it go. So,
you might not have a passing lane or something.
Yeah, exactly right.
And the cardinal rule is don't throw across your body if you're a quarterback rolling out.
Unless you're Brett Favre.
Mallett to throw on 3rd and goal. Blitz pressure coming up the middle, and Mallett is sacked back at the 10-yard line. He never got his feet set before Sherry Thornton came up the middle, and that will end the drive in the Grill Mates red zone.
Well, that drive didn't end the way we were hoping it to, and I know talking about John Harbaugh, you know, feeling really confident with things, but now he's kind of asking, hey, what happened? What did you see? Why did you feel like you needed to step up in the pocket and, you know, take the sack as opposed to throwing?
Sets up a 27-yard field goal try for Justin Tucker. He hit from 40 in the first quarter. They'll try to give the Ravens their 2nd lead of the night. From the right hash mark, Sam Cook with a hold, Morgan Cox with a snap, and Tucker's kick is good. And with 8:12 left to play in the first half, the Ravens back in front of the Lions. 6-3, Ravens lead it on the Ravens Game Day Network. 6-3, Ravens back in front of the Detroit Lions. Former Raven Pro Bowler Haloti Ngata back in town for the first time since he left in a trade to the Detroit Lions, making his presence felt, but in a fun way after the Justin Tucker 27-yard field goal as Tucker looked skyward, thanking his maker. Haloti Ngata breaking up that moment between Justin and his creator.
Say hello, Haloti. Yes, this is preseason. You can have fun. Yes, yes. Oh, yes, that's his little
Justin Tucker
trademark, yes. Elodie Nada was a great player for the Ravens. Not a good player, a great player for the Baltimore
He's a
Ravens.
Ring of Honor guy, hands
no
down,
doubt.
when he decides to hang up the cleats.
Tucker will kick it off. Dwayne Washington will field this one inside the 5. Brings it across the numbers to the 10, 20, 25. Still on his feet. And all the way out to the 29-yard line where the Lions drive begins. We're getting a sense of how the Ravens are going to probably approach kickoffs this year with Justin Tucker. With the touchback going to the 25-yard line, it's going to be the decision. Do you kick it into the end zone, out of the end zone, or like we saw there, high and shy of the end zone?
If they get it back to the 29, they won't be kicking it like that. But that's about as perfect as kick as you want. It was high. It was to the 1-yard line. If you can't cover that, you know, then he's going to get other people that can. He's said that. You got to be able to do your job on special teams. That should be inside the 20.
Stafford in the pistol formation with Theo Riddick behind him. Ravens back in front, 6-3. And around. Golden Tate across the 30 and pulled down from behind by Matt Judon at the 35-yard line. So the rookie draft pick out of Grand Valley State. We expected him to get some pass rush pressure, showing his ability to stay at home on the run, the end around.
Well, the question is, did he stay at home, or did he just make a hustle play to make up for losing the edge on that? I don't know what the responsibility is on that, if it's he's the end man, if he has that end around or not, but they got around him.
No gain, 7, 2nd and 3. Stafford throws quickly, complete to his tight end along the near sideline, 45. And stacked up shy of midfield is Cole Wick, a rookie free agent out of Incarnate.
And this is where Matt Judon has to be better. There is a flag down in the defensive backfield, but Matt Judon got out leveraged by the tight end. He was dropping into the weak flat, and he didn't get there quick enough. Didn't take the right angle. Didn't get a quick enough start. Now the Detroit is walking back. Maybe they blocked early on that play.
I think they dove on the play when the whistle was blown.
Jeff Triplett, our referee.
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness. Number 72, the offense. 15-yard penalty. It'll still be 3rd down.
Lakin Tomlinson, the guilty party for the Lions.
Whistle was blown, and then all of a sudden you give a little extracurricular. There's a big emphasis on trying not to have that happen and protect both the offensive and defensive players.
So they said it would still be 3rd down, but it was 2nd down before. So is it still 2nd down, or was that a post a dead ball foul after the play and it's 3rd down?
And that's exactly what Jeff Triplett is trying to deduce with his officiating crew.
Correction on the previous enforcement. The foul occurred after the play was over. So it'll be, since they made the line to gain, it'll be 1st down and 10 after the enforcement of the penalty.
Correct.
And that's because it was a dead ball foul after the conclusion of the previous play, which netted the Lions a 1st down.
Correct. They had made the 1st down, the play was over, that play stands, and then there's a penalty. Now, if it had been short of the 1st down, it would be 3rd down.
Something still not settling with Jeff Triplett and his crew because they're huddling again.
No, in the NFL, it used to be in the old days it would be 1st and 25, but now they don't have that anymore. It's always back to a 1st and 10.
Something you rarely see in the regular season, a grin from the referee. Another sign that it's still August in the NFL. 1st and 10 Lions at their 33. Theo Riddick will carry. He's got an avenue, spins out of a tackle across the 45. He's got room far side. Ravens 40. Sharice Wright, the last man who can and does catch it. Shy of the Lions 30, the Ravens 30 at the Ravens 32.
Well, you mentioned it, missed tackle. That's what it comes down to. He had 4 or 5 yards, but he makes a missed tackle right here. You see there's no wrapping of arms. All that was a body tackle, and nothing, I don't think, gets John Harbaugh any more aggravated than guys who miss tackles that don't wrap their arms.
Or Dean Pease, the Ravens defensive coordinator. 1st and 10 Lions at the Ravens 32. Matthew Stafford calling out C.J. Mosley's name, setting him as the inside linebacker. Stafford with plenty of time. Now Going to throw the ball at the feet of Cole Wick, his tight end. Excellent coverage because there was no real pass rush pressure, but eventually time started to expire on Matthew Stafford and a flag down at the end of that play.
Now I did see them grab the running back as he after he faked and ran through the line. They usually let that go since they faked to it.
Illegal contact. Defense number 35. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So Sharice Wright, who makes the touchdown saving tackle, now makes the mistake, and the Lions get another first down.
I guess they're saying the quarterback did not leave the pocket, so you cannot then make the contact, although he did scramble around. He stayed in the pocket, Jerry.
He was well within the tackle box. So another first down for the Lions. 6:12 to play. Second quarter. Jerry Stan Q&U live from the Verizon broadcast booth. And a whistle prior to the snap, as the Ravens will take a timeout. Brent Harris with us down on the field as well. Been a busy day, evening rather, down on the field with bad news starting this game for John Harbaugh, losing Ben Watson on the first offensive play from scrimmage. Watson suffered a torn Achilles tendon. So a year ago, a torn Achilles tendon fells Terrell Suggs. Tonight we celebrate Suggs' return, and it fells Ben Watson. So the big injury has been such a plague to this organization over the last year.
Steve Smith too.
Well, we asked you to check in from Twitter. We've got some good pictures on Twitter as well. Darius Webb and Lodi Nada, Ravens fans, started to show their season color. I love this one. I was there for this one.
That's
Stan.
so cool.
John Harbaugh and Helen Maroulis, the gold medal wrestler back from Rio. She was so impressive in their conversation, he had her address the team pre-game. And up to Riddick, trying to get around the right edge, and that time Judon, the rookie, helped set the edge and limit the gain to only 2. I want to go back to Helen Maroulis. She was talking with John Harbaugh, and he said, so what were you thinking about as you prepared for your gold medal match? And she said, you know, I changed my whole philosophy because I was so tired of taking a lot of mental baggage out onto the mat with me. I just decided I'm not taking anything out there that doesn't help me win the gold medal.
Ha.
And John Harbaugh
That's
loved
awesome.
that idea.
Yes.
Go into it light. There are no guarantees, but don't weigh yourself down with a lot of negative thoughts and things that can go wrong. I think that actually helped buoy John Harbaugh's thoughts, putting Joe Flacco into the game tonight.
Absolutely.
Stafford throws on a quick slant pattern, complete inside the 20. And down to the 15 is Golden Tate, who stretches the play to the 14 of the Ravens in the red zone.
I know one thing when you talk about Sharice Wright and what John Harbaugh told us, you got to be a bulldog out there. In other words, or a pit bull rather. In other words, the intensity that it takes for every single play to concentrate on your technique. If you're a cornerback, Sharice Wright and obviously Jimmy Smith, both guys have to be on top of their game on a razor's edge every single play. That play right there should have been more on edge and not allow the inside release.
Gives the Lions a first down. Stafford out of the empty backfield. Pumps once, hit from behind. Anthony Levine with a blindside sack. And he'll drop it back to the 23-yard line. A late flag being thrown.
I wonder if that's going to be against the offensive lineman trying to
Reef.
be a little bit too aggressive and getting Anthony Levine off of his quarterback.
After the play is over, personal foul, number 71 of the offense. Pulling a player off the pile.
That's one.
15-yard penalty. It will be second down.
It's one of the points of emphasis. Anthony Levine comes free, makes the sack. Reef loses his helmet, but he's there grabbing and pulling him off. They've done away with that. That didn't look like it was that bad of a call. I mean, that bad of a pull-off to be called a penalty, but they're going to, in the preseason, they call them by the book.
Matt Judon did a nice job against Reef as he helped to collapse the pocket from the opposite side, which gave Anthony Levine the chance to put the pressure on from the blind side.
He's had some good plays, Judon. Had a couple that were not as good, but he's had some good plays, too.
Lions backed up all the way to the Ravens 36. Stafford with the screen pass, and Riddick can't handle it. And that'll set up a third down and 32 for Detroit.
Yeah, you think second and long, that long, you're looking screen, draw, everything else. You're willing to give it that and come up and make the tackle. Back to Sharice Wright on that slant pattern. The worst part of that was he missed the tackle on it.
Yeah.
Instead of a 5-yard gain, it turns into 10, 12, 14 yards.
Yep, got to be on that razor's edge every single snap.
You're going to get beat sometimes, but don't get beat twice on the same play. And that's what you do when you let him inside and then you miss the tackle.
Flag thrown in the secondary. The back judge seeing something prior to the snap.
Play clock's at 19, so.
There's no foul on the play. The play clock was not reset to 40 seconds after the previous play. So there is no foul for delay of game.
Lions looking at a 3rd down and 32. They were deep in Ravens red zone territory. And a sack and a penalty pushed them all the way back to here.
They're trying to get in field goal range now, Jerry. And defensively, you're thinking is what, 55 yards from here.
With Matt Prater, that is field goal range.
Right, but you want to make it a longer one.
And another flag, this time from the umpire in the backfield. It'll be a false start.
Ooh, you're in trouble.
Now it's 60 yards.
False start. Number 75 offense. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
For Jim Caldwell and the Lions, this was really the first sequence we have seen in the preseason where it really looked like preseason, especially with veterans on the field. Caldwell, former Ravens offensive coordinator on their Super Bowl 47 team, facing a lot of pressure this year in Detroit after a disappointing year last year. The Lions brought in a new GM. When you're the head coach going in your 3rd year, you don't like to see a new GM arrive on the scene.
He wasn't offering an extension either.
Stafford pass across the middle, complete to Cole Wick, and the Ravens have him wrapped up at the 35-yard line. Zach Orr, who has wrapped up that starting inside linebacker spot. I'm projecting here. We don't know that for fact, but the way he has played alongside of C.J. Mosley right on the spot. And now Matt Prater will come on to attempt what will be a 53-yard field goal try.
Right, but that was just getting 7 yards just to be able to get into field goal range. So defensively, you got to make that choice. Do we give them the short one, or do we go all out here, feel like if they get 7 yards, the field goal is good, or they get 10 yards?
Prater's career-long 64, the NFL record. This will be a 53-yard try from the right hash mark. Low snap, kick on the way, and it is no good. Going to the right upright.
That was right on the upright the whole way, wasn't it?
Boy, you might as well just call that pork chop.
I'm afraid to ask why.
Yes, you got me on that one.
Because it was so fat it couldn't get over the uprights.
3:33 to play first half. Still 6-3 Ravens on the Ravens Game Day Network. The Ravens lead the Lions. 3:33 to play in the first half. Matt Prater missing from 53 yards. We head back to the social media and checking in on your questions from Twitter. Could the Ravens have a 4-headed monster at the running back position? Q, I think that answer may have changed now with the loss of Ben Watson.
I was about to say, so it's so fluid when it comes to this roster. Injuries will, play a part as far as who you're going to keep and who you're going to have to potentially trade to get a better player.
Kenneth Dixon will get the carry on 1st down, has a room across midfield and all the way down to the Lions 45. Pyle still going. He's to the Detroit 40, yet to be taken down and finally dropped to the turf after a 17-yard gain by Kenneth Dixon. So here's the way the running back's position looks. Justin Forsett, he's going to be around. Buck Allen, the 2nd year out of USC. Terrence West, the former Tigers, had a strong summer. Kenneth Dixon, as you saw on that play, this kid has just zoomed up the depth chart.
There, yes.
Well, you're talking about a guy who's 5'10", 215. I mean, that was pretty fantastic running and just tough, hard nose at the end, getting those extra yards.
And the way they threw him down, I think he drew a penalty because they got embarrassed of him moving the pile like he did all that way.
Yeah.
And defensively, you hate that.
And that is three
players.
times in this preseason we've seen Kenneth Dixon go into piles and either escape or move the pile. This is not a gigantic young man. He is 5'10", 215, well built, but he just has a flair for turning average plays into big plays. Buck Allen checks in for the first time tonight. As Ryan Mallett throws to the near sideline, incomplete. Chris Moore was the target, but Moore did not turn on the throw.
Yeah,
That's one of those back shoulder timing routes. He gives a little thumbs up to Ryan Mallett. I think, for that young man coming off the field now, Mark Trestman and, the rest of the coaching staff really likes what they've seen with him. He's been injured some of camp, but when he's out there, he had a great game against the Colts. He's really impressed them.
On 2nd down, Ryan Mallett again wants to throw, lost it towards the end zone, looking for Jeremy Butler. He makes the catch. Touchdown, Ravens.
He just keeps making catches, doesn't he?
Amazing job of tracking the football. You know you're going to go ahead and have some contact, but it's your ability not only to get away from contact, separate. Ryan Mallett trusted his receiver, You just saw Butler accelerate to the football and catch it away from his body. That was just a fantastic job of making a big play by the young man. That's what John Harbaugh is looking for. It's not
Making
just
plays.
about making a catch, but making big plays. You need the big play and show up. And that young man, 2 weeks in a row, has shown up.
I told you the NFL's leading receiver this preseason. Not a statistic that has any real merit beyond the month of August, but if you've caught more passes, extra point try is good. If you've caught more passes than anybody in the NFL in the month of August, somebody's going to notice you.
Yeah, go back to the saying, it doesn't count, but it matters. And he's trying to make this team. And to tell you the truth, I thought they were going to keep 4 running backs no matter what. This cements it. What it might do is you might keep that extra wide receiver now that you would have had to cut if you were going to keep all those tight ends. So it's going to open a spot somewhere, unfortunately for Ben Watson, but maybe fortunately for one of these guys like Jeremy Butler.
The Jeremy Butler touchdown reception, a 25-yarder, puts the Ravens in front 13-3. The Geico scoring drive, 3 plays, 57 yards, 45 seconds, and a perfect pass and diving catch. What a combination. Ryan Mallett with the throw and the celebration. So much focus on Joe Flacco tonight for obvious reasons, but Ryan Mallett has been getting pushed in camp by Josh Johnson.
Yep.
And we're, along with a lot of other people, speculating Dallas now might be in the market for a quarterback. Ryan Mallett has real value in the NFL, and throws like that make that value soar.
Yeah, I just think that he has such a terrific arm, very strong quarterback. Came in here last year after Joe Flacco went down in week 11, and they went through their quarterbacks, but when he came in, you saw a difference as far as his arm strength and as far as his moxie to get the ball down the field and make plays.
T.J. Jones awaits the kick. He'll take it on the run at the 4, across the 10, 15, 20. Sidesteps another tackler coming to the near sideline, and he'll be navigated out of bounds by Tavon Young, the rookie out of Temple. Well, Jeremy Butler knows that to make this team, you've got to make a difference, and he told us earlier this week that he's trying to make every catch, anything thrown in his direction. He knows if he can make the catch, he can make the team.
For me, it's mostly just the mindset I have that no ball is uncatchable and catch everything that comes my way. So as far as a receiver, I mean, being open and making the play no matter who's throwing it or how it's thrown, just being consistent and being able to be relied upon no matter the circumstances.
And he showed the willingness to lay out in the end zone on a 25-yard touchdown reception from Ryan Mallett, and that has the Ravens in front by 10. 13-3. Next to him on the bench, Rashad Perriman, who has returned to practice. And we would anticipate the possibility, at least, that we will see Perriman next week in the preseason finale on the road in New Orleans. Theo Riddick with the carry, tries to get around the edge, and he is taken out of bounds by Jimmy Smith with a nice open field tackle. Yeah,
good job of coming up as a secondary contain. The young linebacker, Kamali Correa, set the edge, but because there was an extra receiver over there that blocked him first, it allowed a defensive back then to come up and replace him as a contained man.
No gain. 2nd and 10. 2:29 left in the first half. Ravens up by 10. Stafford still at quarterback. Pocket collapsing. He escapes. Tucks and runs to the 20, and he'll slide down at the 21-yard line in front of C.J. Mosley and Anthony Levine.
Made a business decision on that one, slide.
Yes. I'm sure Jim Caldwell was yelling, slide, slide, slide. Especially a coach under pressure. You don't want your Pro Bowl quarterback to risk himself in the preseason. We saw what happened to Tony Romo. Broken bone in his back, out 6 to 10 weeks or more.
And that brings us to the 2-minute warning. Ravens in front of the Lions, 13-3. 25-yard touchdown pass to Jeremy Butler as the Ravens in front 13-3 with 2 minutes left to play here in the first half. We invite you to celebrate the start of the 2016 season with the Ravens Countdown to Kickoff Week presented by Miller Lite. The fun starts September 6th with car stenciling and the Find the Flock scavenger hunt. Then we invite you to join us September 9th for the Countdown to Kickoff party featuring 3 doors down at the Maryland State Fairgrounds. Tickets just $10 in advance. Visit BaltimoreRavens.com/CTK for tickets and information. Lions looking at a 3rd down and 6 from the Detroit 20. Stafford to throw. Has time. Fires across the middle. Intercepted by Anthony Levine at the 35-yard line. Inside the 30 on the return. Works his way back to the far side of the field. 25 has a blocker. 20, 15, and taken out of bounds there. And the Ravens safety having a big night. A sack earlier, a pick now. And the Ravens will have the ball in the Grill Mates red zone with 1:45 left in the half after a 22-yard return of an interception by Anthony Levine.
Well, he caught that one, hit his hands, and he caught it. So he's got to be happy. Good interception. He just keeps, every week he keeps doing something. Here's a guy that's played safety, corner, and now he's playing linebacker. What versatility that is. I don't know too many linebackers that used to be a corner, you know, but he just, today's game, he did a great job of seeing the crossing route, sinking back, going up and catching it and returning it and giving them a shot now with under 2 minutes to go to put more points on the board.
And of course, last week on the road in Indy, it was the Anthony Levine interception and 2-point conversion that won the game. Ryan Mallett going for the end zone. His pass is caught just shy of the goal line at the 3-yard line. And it is going to be first and goal for the Ravens off of the Chris Matthews reception.
Yeah, that was a good play by Ryan Mallett to thread that in there. Great job by the quarterback. You can just see where his arm strength comes in as far as just knifing it.
Well, max
right
protection.
Here, just good old, just that's a classic Ryan Mallett big arm throw. Nice job.
They did a great job of giving him time. That was not on cue. That took plenty of time.
Backs in the eye. Kenneth Dixon, the deep back. He'll get the carry. Running behind Juszczyk. Dixon hit and stopped just shy of the goal line. Ball came loose.
They're calling it down.
And they're going to call him down at the 1-inch line.
Yeah, and the great thing about it, it looked like he crossed over the end line.
Dixon is shaken up at the end of this play, and that is a bad scene because this kid has been sensational throughout preseason. Trainer Mark Smith immediately out on the field as John Harbaugh looks on with, I'm sure, a sinking feeling in his stomach.
You could see it right there in his eyes, couldn't you?
Well, you could just see where that hit was a very just vicious hit. I mean,
he's so
looked
high.
like he passed through the end line, but his chest was exposed. I'm hoping it is not something too much.
Dixon
right there,
running behind Juszczyk, got hit at the point of attack, got tangled up, and when he came down, the back of his head slammed into the turf. That's when the ball came loose. The play was dead.
It might have been that last guy that hit him right there that hit his head down to the ground.
Both, yeah.
He is now sitting up. We'll be hearing from Brent Harris shortly as to the nature of the injury. John Harbaugh is out there talking with the rookie as well. But as we have seen tonight and throughout training camp and preseason, Dixon just keeps making something happen.
Well, it looks like they're now looking at his lower extremities.
Oh yeah, I see it bend right there, didn't you?
His left knee got bent as he was going down to the
remember,
turf.
he had an MCL sprain earlier in camp that sidelined him. So
getting help coming off the field, unable to put much, if any, pressure on that left leg. And so for a second time here in the first half, the Ravens are seeing an impact player being helped into the locker room. The first play of the half, it was Ben Watson leaving with a torn Achilles. And now Kenneth Dixon, who has looked sensational here in the preseason, being helped immediately into the locker room where they will continue to examine his left leg. Ravens with 1:28 left in the half. Goal-to-go situation. Ryan Mallett on the keeper. Pushes the pile, waiting for the official signal. Mallett signals. And there's the signal. Touchdown, Ravens.
Yeah, he needs to stay in the end zone until they get there.
Not really sure what the delay is on the signal, but it counts, and the Ravens now with a 2-touchdown advantage. Extra point pending.
Well, maybe they just want to be so certain that he crossed over the goal line with his head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and everything else, plus the football.
And plus the football. That was the key. I think they want to make sure he still has the ball.
Yeah.
Talk about a Pyrrhic victory. A touchdown that you would normally celebrate comes one play after you see Kenneth Dixon helped to the locker room. You can only hope that it is not as serious as it looked as he was being helped to the locker room. Ryan Mallett now with a touchdown pass and a touchdown run as the Ravens comfortably in front of the Lions, 19-3. But you can't feel comfortable now about this game because of the 2 injuries suffered so far. Ravens have scored now in their last 3 possessions, 4 out of 6 possessions overall. All things that will normally make the head coach very happy, but for John Harbaugh, the weight of injuries will be significant coming out of this game.
It's a 5-yard penalty, Jared. The Ravens went on into formation with 12 guys, and DeAndre Wesley then ran off the field, but it was too late, so it's a 5-yard penalty. They'll be kicking this from the 33-yard.
38, you move it back from 5 yards, so it's a 38-yard try. This is where the longer extra point try becomes significant when a penalty is tacked on. Justin Tucker from 38, Sam Cook with a hold, and Tucker makes it look easy as the Ravens now lead it by 17, 20-3 in front of the Lions with 1:21 left to play in the half. If this were regular season, the stadium would be rocking, everybody would be feeling great, but John Harbaugh can't feel great as he wonders about Kenneth Dixon. Let's go down to the field. Brent Harris with an update on that injury.
Jerry, Kenneth Dixon, it is a left knee injury. He's gone into the locker room for further evaluation. And I was standing pretty close to the play. Jerry landed very hard on the left knee, immediately grabbing at that left knee. Doctors ran out. We'll know more. We'll get an update coming up after halftime. Jerry.
Thank you, Brent. John Harbaugh saw it too. I'm sure he's looked at the replay. Just as Dixon planted his left foot at the goal line as he was hit, trying to push forward, he got that contact from the outside, and that bent his knee in. So Ryan Mallett finishes the drive with a touchdown, but not the way the Ravens felt like celebrating after Kenneth Dixon had played so well throughout this preseason. You can look, the only thing we can hope for here is that it's a sprain.
Yeah, it's exactly a low-level sprain, as opposed to a 3rd-degree or 4th-degree sprain.
Dixon 6 carries, 41 yards tonight. Justin Tucker will kick off. Andre Roberts deep for the Lions. Tucker kicks this one to the goal line. Roberts brings it across the 10, far side of the numbers, 20, hit there and taken down. Arthur Brown with a nice stick at the 21-yard line. So now the Ravens defense will try to close out the last minute 16. It was Anthony Levine's interception that set up the last Ravens touchdown. Levine having a whale of a summer. The interception and return for the 2-point conversion a week ago on the road, helping the Ravens beat the Colts in the most unlikely of ways to win a game. That probably has every head coach in the NFL rethinking about when and where they will use a 2-point conversion in the 2016 season. Theo Riddick in the backfield. Stafford continues to take the snaps. His pass complete. Golden Tate wrapped up at the 26-yard line. That's a gain of about 7.
Yeah, we asked John about that, if he would change his mind about going for 2 points at any point in the game. I related a story about, let's go into that story later.
Final minute of the half. Stafford out of the shotgun. His pass heading to Tate, complete.
No, incomplete.
No, they rule it incomplete. Tate didn't get his hand under the ball. Carrington Bynum had the coverage, so now it'll be 3rd down and 4. The incompletion stops the clock. Back to your story, Stan.
Yes, Furman scored with 6 seconds left on Appalachian State to go ahead by 1. They looked at their card and said, okay, you go for 2. They tried it. Appalachian State intercepts it and runs back for a touchdown, wins the game.
Just like we saw a week ago in Indy. On 3rd down, Stafford throws quickly. His pass complete across the 30 out to the 37-yard line. Golden Tate with the reception. Anthony Levine with the coverage. Clock is running. The Lions have 2 timeouts to work with. The Ravens have exhausted their supply. 33 seconds left in the half. Stafford throws across the middle, complete. Anquan Bolden taken down by C.J. Mosley. And now Jim Caldwell will use one of his 2 remaining timeouts, stopping the clock with 27 seconds left in the half. Well, Matt Judon has had a chance to play a significant amount of snaps here in the first half against the Lions' first team. Let's take a look at how the rookie out of Grand Valley did on that last play, Stan.
Yeah, he was. Yes, you've got to come off a little faster than that, when especially in a 2-minute drill. That looked like a tired pass rush.
I'm about to say, guys, help me. My lung capacity. I'm tapping my helmet to say I need to be onto the sideline.
When you're going against top-tier talent, you do have to work harder.
Yes, you do, and that's why you're getting tested tonight in this dress rehearsal. You want to see what you have. You want to see if you can figure into the rotation. Dean Pease has a lot of decisions that he has to make and wants to know who's going to be out there and who he can rely upon.
But he has to feel better having Terrell Suggs back on the field tonight and Elvis Dumerville back on the practice field this week. Stafford, a whistle prior to the snap.
Yeah, left tackle jump.
False start, number 69 offense. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
I think it's 68.
It's an 8th
Taylor
penalty
Decker
for the Lions here in the first half. So Jim Caldwell has some concerns coming out of his dress rehearsal. 27 seconds left in the half. Matt Judon on the sideline. You can tell the tank's a little open. When you're mouth breathing this late in the half, you know you've been working hard. Second down and 7 from the Lions 41. Stafford flush from the pocket. No run, heads to the far sideline and gets out of bounds in Ravens territory at the 48-yard line with a first down. Stops the clock with 21 seconds left in the half.
Another thing John was talking about is being disciplined in your pass rush lanes so the quarterback can't run on you. You saw Cam Newton run. You saw Andrew Luck run. You saw guys, I mean, just too many times the quarterback is getting through and they're just not staying in their lanes pass rush wise.
Stafford under 20 seconds. His pass is knocked back into his own hands and he is dropped by Zach Orr at the 41-yard line.
Dumb play. You should have just let it drop down.
And that forces the Lions to use their final timeout, stopping the clock with 10 seconds left. That's just a reflex.
Yeah, about to say.
Yeah, but he's been in the league long enough to know. Because you cannot throw another pass. That is a forward pass. You cannot throw two. So he's going to have to run it. And at this point, why even risk that?
Brent Urban got his hand on the ball, and that's something that we've seen a lot of Urban. He's a huge body, 6'7" former Virginia Cavalier. He blocked the field goal last year against Cleveland. He blocks the pass there on Matthew Stafford, and the Lions lose 19 and burn a timeout. So that's a huge play by a young defensive lineman.
That's what I'm talking about. You don't want to catch that. But Matthew Stafford's been in the league long enough to know, especially under these circumstances, you don't even do that.
So Stafford will go trips right. Hail Mary time.
Yep.
They put 3 seconds back on the clock. 13 seconds left. He's got time for 2 plays if he wants to go short here.
He wants to go out of bounds.
He'll throw to the far sideline. Misses everybody. Anquan Bolden in the neighborhood. It leaves 9 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, that's called flood pattern. 3 levels.
Yes.
Short out, medium out, one guy clearing out to the sideline.
Anquan Bolden is not the clear out guy.
No, you let him throw it, especially in this situation to the short guy. Come up, make a tackle. Even if he goes out of bounds there, it's not going to put him in position to. They want to get in a spot for maybe a Hail Mary here. Right now he's got to throw the ball 70 yards to get it to the end zone.
He has the arm strength to do that too.
Golden Tate splits wide to the left. He's the most likely target. Stafford blitz pressure and he has to slide down, and a flag will be thrown as Timmy Jernigan made contact with Stafford after Stafford had surrendered himself with the slide.
You got to know the rules. Yes, he did. He slid down. It was the last play of the half. He wasn't going to give him another chance. It's shades of Jacksonville last year.
Yes. Now
it's going to be a 15-yard penalty, and they'll get one more play.
And see, that's something that John Harbaugh just gets so frustrated with, because that's not a good and smart football play. That's hurting your team, not helping your team. There's no toughness there.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Number 99 of the defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And Jernigan makes a great play, forcing Stafford to the turf to end the half, and then undoes all the work by jumping on Stafford and picking up the penalty.
Now they'll try the long field goal. I mean, this is just like Jacksonville, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, this is exactly what we saw last year in the final seconds. The Jags got a long 50-plus yard field goal try. They hit it, and they won the game. This will be a 60-yard try.
Yeah, Michael Campanaro is going to try to return this, because you're returning it against a field goal team, which is your biggest guys, who will not be very good at covering. That's for sure.
And unlike last week's return by Anthony Levine, if somehow Campanaro can return this to the end zone, it's a touchdown, not a touchback, and not a 2-point conversion.
Let's go, Michael.
Here's Prater from 60 yards. He has hit from 64 in his career. His kick on the way. He's got a lot of leg in this one, and it is good from 60. So Timmy Jernigan, as the clock expires at the end of the half, is going to get himself a lecture because the penalty he committed on Matthew Stafford on the final play sets up a 60-yard field goal try for the Lions, and Matt Prater converts. Halftime in Baltimore, and the Ravens lead 2 touchdowns, 20-6. It was the touchdown pass to Jeremy Butler that helped separate the Ravens and the Lions in the first half. Here on the Ravens Game Day Network. Leaded by 2 touchdowns. As you take a look at the numbers, Stan, what jumps out at you from the first half?
Well, 167 yards passing. That's pretty good for the Ravens. Did a good job in the first half. But the penalties, look at that. 8 for 80 for the Lions, 6 for 52. I was talking to Jim Bradstetter, who does the Lions radio and television, and also the University of Michigan. And he was just saying, can you believe all the dumb penalties they've had in this game? But I guess that's what preseason is. You know, there's some dumb in preseason.
Set down to the field, Brent Harris standing by, having had a chance to talk with John Harbaugh.
Just talked to him coming out of the locker room, and he said he liked what he saw out of Joe Flacco and Terrell Suggs, both making their comebacks here tonight. He saw no reason, though, to put these guys back out on the field after 2 series. As you can see, Suggs enjoying himself over here on the sideline. I asked him about Anthony Levine, who has made that transition from safety to linebacker, had a sack in the interception. He said he loves the versatility. He loves how he's a game changer so far here in the preseason. And he said that's what happens when guys work on special teams, develop, and then eventually become starters. He loves what he sees out of the young fella. Guys?
Thank you, Brent. Stan, as we go through the second half, if we get a chance for you to telestrate it, I wouldn't mind you walking us through the position Levine is playing. We're saying linebacker. He's playing the linebacker position, but as a safety. He's the 6th defensive back. It's really what they call the dime package. It's not like he's replacing Terrell Suggs or C.J. Mosley, but he is playing a linebacker spot as a defensive back, which is kind of the new hot hybrid position.
Well, you got to be big and strong to do that, and he is that.
Justin Tucker will kick it off, and will be taken 2 yards deep with a touchback. And that was not Justin Tucker. It was rather the free agent kicker for the Ravens, Will Lutz, getting a little leg action here in week 3. Lutz has had a chance to try some field goals. Missed a 53-yarder earlier in preseason. His likelihood of beating out Justin Tucker is about as good as my likelihood of becoming the next Pope. But if you get a chance to put a kick or 2 on tape, and you can hit a 55-yarder or a 53-yarder, or just show that you're a kid who can be relied on, who knows, you might wind up with a job in this league.
All hail Jerry.
New quarterback for the Lions, Dan Orlovsky, hands it off to Zach Zenner, and Zenner ripping a run of about 9.5 yards. Now they'll make it a 10-yard run on first down. That'll move the chains right out of the gates.
And a huge hole in that defensive line. Yeah, earlier you saw Zach Orr call a timeout when they were lined up wrong and there was a big gap in front of him. Sometimes the younger guys don't see that and don't call those timeouts, or don't get the defensive lineman in the right spot. But there was something wrong on that defensive front.
So if you look just to the left of the defensive front, you'll see Anthony Levine in there as the 6th defensive back. And that is the package that has created a lot of havoc for offenses. And more flags. 14 penalties in the first half. Here's the 15th to start the second half.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Baltimore. On the bench. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Well, that means somebody on the Ravens bench was having a conversation with one of the officials. And Mother of Pearl was probably not a direct part of that conversation. There may have been snippets of that used, but
Mother might have been a part of it.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
When you start questioning the parentage of officials, 15 yards can disappear in a blink. 1st and 10. Lions at the Ravens 49. Opening drive, 3rd quarter. Dan Orlovsky, the new quarterback for the Lions. He's thrown a pick 6 in each of the first 2 preseason games. His pass is complete down to the 42-yard line. Ball comes free at the end, and it will be ruled an incompletion. T.J. Jones had it briefly, And the coverage was by Sheldon Price. Now, Sheldon Price really popped in the first preseason game. I thought he had great cover skills, but he was injured. Didn't play last week in Indianapolis. What does that do, Stan, to his shot at making this roster of cracking a kind of a, I won't say a starting rotation, but a sub-package rotation?
Well, he has to be good on special teams, and he has to make the plays there. He did a good job of getting the ball out. In the end, is it complete or is it incomplete? He probably lost a little leverage, but he was able to make it up and get the ball out, because you're going to find yourself having to do that at times, and he did it. Yeah, he did those open practices we saw in practice out at the Castle. He has looked good a number of times.
He's big, 6'2", 199 pounds. Wolofsky, the delayed handoff to Zach Zenner, and Zenner's going to be drilled after a gain of maybe 1.5 yards. Will Davis, and helmet popping off like a Pez dispenser as he came crashing in from the cornerback position.
Well, yeah, we said he used him in the slot some on the inside. Did a good job of reading and coming up and reacting. That looked like a linebacker play. At first, I thought that was a linebacker that made that play.
3rd down and 8 for the Lions at the Ravens 47. And Orlovsky making some adjustments behind the line. Ravens bring the blitz. Judon gets a hand and locks the ball free. Loose ball back at the 47-yard line. The Lions will recover it.
Another sack.
Riley Ray falling on it, but it was Matt Judon with his 3rd sack of preseason, forcing the fumble. So the Ravens wanted to see what he could do against the starters. He beat the starting right tackle of the Lions on that play, Riley Reif.
Yeah, good job. You're right, Jerry. That's a good point. He did it against a starter in the NFL, and that's what they wanted to see. Did a really good job, and plus causing that fumble, they're looking for turnovers, no doubt.
Now they want to see what Michael Campanaro can do with a punt return opportunity, though he's not going to get his hands on this one, as Sam Martin punches that one out of the end zone for a touchback. When we come back, we'll get a chance to visit with Helen Maroulis, the gold medal winning wrestler from Rio. 20-6, Ravens lead it on the Ravens Game Day Network.
There are a lot.
12:21 to play, 3rd quarter. Ravens up 20-6. Down to the field, Brent Harris standing by with the gold medal winner, Helen Maroulis, gold medalist in wrestling in Rio. Take it away, Brent.
Yes, right from Rockville, Maryland. So it was a short drive here to the stadium. First American woman to win a gold medal in wrestling. And Helen, what has it been like celebrating such an incredible moment?
Oh my gosh, it's been amazing. I mean, I came home, I have so much support from the community, so much love. I mean, thank you to the Ravens and everyone that brought me out here. This has been amazing. I've been in a bubble just training for a long time, and this is great.
A little bit of an audible when you got here today. You had a chance to meet the head coach, John Harbaugh, and then he asked you to talk to the team pregame. I've got to imagine there were some nerves. What was the message?
Yeah, I was incredibly nervous. I just speak from the heart. I told Coach Harbaugh my story, and just that I don't know, the mental approach is everything. It's made a big difference for me, and I always say I'm not a fortune teller. My job's not to predict the future. I don't ever say I'm going to win before I step on the mat. I don't ever know. I just know that I won't ever count myself out, and I'll always give it my all. So you got to put in all the hard work, but you can't bring anything with you that will tangibly assure you of a win or a gold medal. And so that hard work, you do it because it prepares you, but when you step on the mat or in any field of life where you're competing, you still need to give everything that you have, and nothing guarantees a win. And so that's why I don't waste my time planning, saying if I'm going to win or not, because it's not about saying it, it's about doing it. So
great message for life in general. Helen, congratulations again on the gold medal. Great to see you. You look great in purple. Jerry, she told me that her house is divided. Half Redskins fans, half Ravens fans, but the purple certainly looks good with the gold.
I couldn't agree more, and that tells you this much about Helen's house. Half of it is right. What an impressive young lady who has become a role model for so many young athletes in this country. And her message, as Brent touched on, much more than just sports, much more than just Olympics. She has a message for life. Buck Allen will get the carry. He'll push the ball over the midfield stripe. It was a completion to Jeremy Butler and a couple of runs from Terrence West that put the Ravens near midfield. Here with just under 10 and a half left to play in the third quarter, leading by 2 touchdowns. So Buck Allen going to get some more work. Terrence West will get some more work because of the injury to Kenneth Dixon, who was getting a lot of work in the early part of this game, along with Justin Forsett.
Kind of can see the pecking order as far as the running backs were concerned, with Kenneth Dixon going with the ones, rotating there with Justin Forsett.
Michael Campanaro split out to the left. Ryan Mallett throws it to the right. Darren Waller complete for a very little gain, if anything. Darren Wall's right there to take down Waller.
Don't you think, Hugh, that they wanted to give him some reps against the first team defense too as a rookie, and just give him that opportunity? So
see where he's at,
yeah.
See how he looks, how he responds. Clearly, you know what the running back situation looks like as your starter with Justin Forsett there. He's back healthy, reliable, but yeah, to get him an opportunity to see what he looks like against the first team.
Mallett on third down throws incomplete. He was looking for Chris Matthews at the 42-yard line. Darren Walls had the coverage, and the punt team comes on for the Ravens.
That was one where I know Ryan Mallett is going to want back. It was a good route by the receiver, and unfortunate that he wasn't able to throw him open is the term that you use.
First time Sam Cook has been on the field tonight. He'll be punting to Andre Roberts. So that's a sure sign your offense has been hitting on most cylinders when you don't have to punt until the second half. Cook with an end-over-end punt. Roberts lets it bounce inside the 10, and Matthews will down it at the 7. Great special teams play by the Ravens. Lions with the ball when we get back. 9:15 to play, third quarter. Ravens in front 20-6 on the Ravens Game Day Network. Seen it tonight as the Ravens have brought the pressure off the edge. A pair of sacks tonight. The first coming on the Anthony Levine blitz.
Well, you like to come free off the edge, that's for sure. And to the blind side, Matt Judon who came around on Riley Reef, their starting tackle. Good play for him and for his probably use in the future.
A couple of young pass rushers now. Zadarius Smith not playing tonight because of injury, and now add Matt Judon to the mix, complementing Terrell Suggs and Elvis Dumerville. On first down, Zach Zenner with the carry, nowhere to go, as he is stood up by Lawrence Guy. Well, for each sack made by the Ravens during this season, Constellation will send one group of students to visit the Power Up exhibit at the Maryland Science Center. To learn more, visit BaltimoreRavens.com/sacks4science. 2 sacks for science from Constellation so far tonight. We'll see what some of the reserves can get done here. A lot of young talent up front on that Ravens defense. Matt Judon on the left edge of the front. Hamale Correa, the second-round draft pick out of Boise State. Outside linebacker spot on the right edge of the defense. Orlovsky's pass complete at the line. Ooh. And a big hit right there by Matt Judon, who buries the receiver on the play, who had no room to run with. Jay Lee got an introduction into this new grass surface here at M&T.
Yeah, but the defensive backs come up and pressure and allowed him that time to come from the inside. Great hustle play by Judon, but if they don't get up real quick on that and force the cutback, he can't make that play.
Sets up a third down at 9. 8 minutes even left in the third quarter. Ravens operating with a 2-touchdown lead. Orlovsky, pocket collapsing, he tucks and runs. 10-15. Look out. He is taken down at the 17-yard line, shy of the first down. Julian Wilson came up to drop the veteran quarterback. An 11-year veteran should know better than that.
He's trying to make sure he makes the team. You know, he wants to continue his career. He's going to keep this drive alive. You saw Matthew Stafford sliding. Joe Flacco's going to be sliding. But when you're trying to make the team,
he's like, hey, head first.
You got to keep going. You want that drive to stay alive so you get more plays on the field.
Absolutely.
We'll see if Michael Campanaro can deliver a play on the field for the Ravens in the punt game. John Harbaugh came into this game wanting to know who his punt and kick returners would be. Campanaro will get a shot here. Settles under it at the 28, far side of the field. And he'll shed one tackler, goes to the 35, 40. Nice second effort as Michael Campanaro gets it out to the 42-yard line. A 54-yard punt, a 14-yard return, and the offense on the field for the Ravens when we get back. Ravens up 20-6, 20-6 advantage over the Detroit Lions. Under 7 minutes to play, third quarter. I want to take you down to the field. Check in with Brent Harris with an update on the Kenneth Dixon injury situation.
Kenneth Dixon with a left knee sprain. The rookie will not return. Jerry?
All right.
Doesn't tell us a whole lot because sprains can be grade 1, 2, 3, 4.
They're going to probably MRI it, I'm sure, to be definite and certain what grade level it is.
On first down, they give it to Buck Allen. Swims his way past one tackler. He'll get a couple of yards out to the 45. Pickup of about 3. Second down and 7 coming up.
You know, if I am Michael Campanaro or Chris Moore, I'm trying to make sure Ryan Mallett is feeling really good and making sure that he sees me when that play pass is called.
Yeah, it'd be nice for Campanaro to catch a pass. He's got a good run and a good punt return.
Give it to Buck Allen. Oh, look out. He is buried in the backfield. Ryan Jensen, the pulling guard, never got out in front of that play. And Buck Allen is going to lose a yard or 2 and set up a 3rd down and long.
Selfishly, you got to say that, you know, as a receiver, you're like, all right, 3rd down and long. We definitely are going to throw it. And hopefully I'm the guy that's catching it and getting the 1st down.
I get the feeling from John Harbaugh when we talk to him, the returner is going to be somebody that makes the team as a position player and then just returns in addition to that.
Ryan Mallett on 3rd down steps up into the face of the blitz and throws complete. A lunging catch by Chris Moore, and the rookie out of Cincinnati, the 4th round draft pick, continues to show some spectacular ability. Moore with leaving his feet, going horizontal to the ground, and extends the drive as the Ravens move the chains into Detroit territory. 1st and 10 at the Lions 43.
Well, that's called kinesthetic awareness, and just being able to catch the ball out in space away from your body. He does that incredibly well.
Gives the Terrence West running off left tackle, big hole, 35-30. And he'll pick up 13 on 1st down and move the chains of back-to-back plays.
You know, I think for Terrence West, it's running the ball like that. Downhill, physical. You know, again, you got to go follow your blocks. He doesn't get touched till that 2nd level, which is at the linebackers, but then you could see where, yeah, that first contact doesn't bring him down. He's going ahead and getting extra yards after contact. That's what you look for in a running back.
Inside handoff, Terrence West slips one tackler, and he'll pick up a couple in between the hash marks, gets down to the 28-yard line. Well, this night is all about the return of the stars and then the continuation of the job competition. So a wide receiver, you know, Steve Smith's on the team. You know, Mike Wallace will make it. Kamar Aiken, Rashad Perriman is going to have a spot. I think Chris Moore is pretty much of a cinch as well. Yes. Then you get into Jeremy Butler, Michael Campanaro, Chuck Jacobs, who we haven't heard from tonight, Keenan Reynolds, who we haven't heard from much in this preseason, Dobson Collins, and Darius White. So there are about 6 or 7 guys fighting for one spot, you would think. Mallett's pass incomplete. He threw it a little bit low. Nick Boyle couldn't handle it. That'll set up a 3rd down.
Got to be a pro and make that catch.
That goes back to Stan's point of if you can be a returner and win the position spot, that frees up a roster spot.
Yeah, absolutely. The more you can do is basically what you're saying. I know I can play special teams. I can be a gunner running down the football field. I can go ahead and cover kicks, and then at the same time, yeah, from a return standpoint, Michael Campanaro wants to figure into that return game. That's how you do. The more you can do, the better it is for you.
Screen pass to Buck Allen. He's got some room. 25, 22, hit and push forward. He'll be close to a 1st down. They're going to mark it about a half a yard shy. And the Ravens, I don't think, will hesitate to go for it here.
Yeah, the guy that hit him there was number 51, Brandon Copeland. Is a kid from Gilman School who went to the University of Pennsylvania, was with the Ravens as a linebacker. Now he's up with Jim Caldwell playing defensive line, and they like him. He's 2nd on the depth chart. And in fact, my rookie year, his grandfather, Roy Hilton, I think you know him, Jerry.
My dad was one of Roy's coaches.
Yes.
Great man. Ryan Mallett on the keeper, pushes the pile forward, and that will keep the drive alive as the Ravens convert on 4th and inches. Back to the story. That's the beautiful part of football in Baltimore when it goes generational. I mean, Roy Hilton, number 85 for the Baltimore Colts, one of the great gentlemen you'll ever meet in this game.
Yeah.
For him to have a grandson who you did not screw up as a coach. I'm so happy to hear about that. But for him to have a grandson who shows the tenacity to stick with it, that's what we're talking about in the preseason. There are so many of these guys who might get aced out in the numbers game with their current team, but if you show something on tape, another team will find you. Here's Jeremy Butler with a reception. He's to the 10-5 in for the touchdown. He is escorted into the end zone with the drapery of flags, and this one will be called back.
Yeah, holding.
Come on.
Holding, number 77, offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
DeAndre Wesley, a second-year tackle out of BYU. Look, I don't think we need to see the replay to know he was probably guilty of holding. When every official throws his flag, you're going to have a hard time talking your way out of that one in the coaching film room.
His and hers.
Yeah, that's holding.
That's tackling. Yeah.
He's like, no. He was trying to jockey for position. He really wasn't trying to hold.
Yeah,
Ryan Mallett trying to sell his case of, no, Jeff, don't say it's holding.
Well, that goes back. That's that play. They had the great play call. They anticipated the blitz. They had the flanker hitch screen called. You walked in because of that block, but you can't tackle a guy when you're on offense.
Penalty puts it at 1st and 15. Mallett, good protection. He throws. Incomplete. Dropped.
Ooh, boy.
Dropped along the sideline by Chris Matthews. And that was a well-thrown ball by Ryan Mallett that would have been good for a red zone first down.
Yeah, you can't let the ball get up on your chest. He did that, and man, I know that potential is good, but at the same time, you're also talking about potential can go ahead and get coaches fired, and that's why you don't want to have guys that are inconsistent around.
Chris Matthews, one of the guys trying to fight for that last wide receiver spot. You can only hope that Mallett comes back to him here for the make good. Hands it off to Terrence West, sweeping to the left side. West taken down shy of the 20-yard line. He's going to set up a 3rd down and long.
I wonder if Ryan Mallett's going to keep on one of those because he's faking the read option on every one of those. He could pull it out on one, and he'd have a lot of room to run.
Well, if Mark Trestman does plant that, Lisa puts it on tape for other teams to consider, because you know you're not going to have Joe Flacco running a read option come September.
Not anymore. He did when he was
right,
the first couple of years. He did.
Ravens 4 of 9 on 3rd down conversions, but post knee surgery, the play call will be a little bit more conservative. Mallett throws the screen to Buck Allen. Nowhere to go. He is bottled up right at the line. And that will bring in the kicking team and will give Will Lutz a chance to put some points on the board. Lutz, the rookie free agent out of Georgia State. They'll be attempting a 39-yard field goal of Sam Cook to hold.
You the head coaches at Georgia State?
Bill Curry.
Bill Curry.
Former Baltimore Colts safety.
Yeah, was
center rather.
That year.
He was built like a safety. He was small body.
Yeah, he was only about 230-some pounds, and he was the center.
39-yard try for Lutz. His kick is up, and it is good. And with 1:28 left to play in the 3rd quarter, the Ravens extend their lead in front of the Lions on the Will Lutz field goal. 23-6 Ravens on the Ravens Game Day Network. Ravens fans, enter for a chance to become the Southwest Airlines captain of the game at BaltimoreRavens.com. You could be on the field with the team captains for the coin toss, all in your own custom jersey, plus a whole lot more. That'd be a cool thing to experience down on the field. Coin toss, right at the logo.
Do you get to keep the coin?
Get to keep the coin.
Get to keep the jersey.
That would
keep
be
the memories. Well, Terrell Suggs, Eric Weddle, their night's work is done. Big night of work too for Suggs, who came back with a vengeance. Kickoff taken by Andre Roberts. Took a knee for the touchback. 1:28 to play, 3rd quarter. Ravens front of the Lions, 23-6 on the Ravens Game Day Network. You live from the Verizon broadcast booth. Brett Harris with us down on the field. Ravens lead the Lions 23-6. Yesterday was National Dog Day in America, and on Twitter, Ravens dogs checking in. All shapes and sizes, and all with their own jerseys.
Cool.
But you can't have a dog as a Ravens fan and make sure they're not outfitted. Stan, did a dog ever have your jersey when you were playing?
No, I didn't even have a jersey. They took them from us. You know, I had to go out and steal one to get one. You know.
How unlike you to take something for free. 1st and 10 for the Lions at their 25-yard line.
If it's free, get 2. You know that.
That's the mantra. And Orlovsky will fake the handoff, throws down the seam, complete at the 40-yard line, and all the way into Ravens territory. On the reception is T.J. Jones, finally chased out of bounds by Julian Wilson.
Yeah, the
29-yard gain.
Safety rotated up, and he came up on the back, which opened up the crossing route. There was just, he should have been back in the zone, number 31 for the Ravens, and he
Terrence
just
Brooks.
wasn't one. Terrence Brooks, yeah,
who dropped an interception in the first half. Wayne Washington will carry off right tackle, and he runs into a mass of bodies after a gain of maybe a yard. Final minute, third quarter. This has been a very solid performance by the Ravens in this game. Really, the only negative are the two big injuries that John Harbaugh saw in this game. Ben Watson lost for the season with a torn Achilles tendon on the first play from scrimmage, and then Kenneth Dixon suffering a knee sprain on a goal line play. Two very heavy, weighty, emotional plays that will impact this team moving forward. And they are the only two really big negatives on an otherwise very positive game. Lofsky under center on second down. Stretches the handoff, and this play is blown up in the backfield by Arthur Brown, who will drop Dwayne Washington for a loss.
Arthur Brown, former second-round pick, who's fighting for his life to make this team now.
Peanut Onwasu, one of the rookie free agents, trying to have an impact as well.
I have one of those too, Jerry. Thank you.
And that'll take us to the end of the third quarter. 15 minutes left here in the pinnacle of the preseason. The third preseason game. It has been dominated by the Ravens, and they lead the Lions 23-6. Ryan Mallett throwing some strikes and a touchdown. The defense strong as well tonight on the Ravens Game Day Network. More Ravens in front of the Lions 23-6. And as fans turned out tonight, it was for the return of the stars. Joe Flacco and Terrell Suggs. The introduction to some new stars like Mike Wallace. And now the focus in the fourth quarter shifts to the battle for jobs. There is a cut down looming. NFL teams have to cut down from 90 to 75 following this third preseason game. Lofsky quarterback on third down. His pass to the far sideline, complete in front of the 30-yard line. And that is good for a first down to Andre Roberts at the 32-yard line. Sheldon Price had the coverage, but he was a little bit far off on that coverage stand.
Yeah, way too far off, because that's a long throw. You have a lot of time to get to that. That was from one hash all the way across the field to a deep out. And if you have good technique, you probably make that play.
First and 10 Lions at the Ravens 34. Orlovsky's pass incomplete. He hit the target. Roberts right in the hands, and somehow Roberts just catapulted the ball right into the sideline in front of Sheldon Price.
Yeah, didn't even slow it down. Made it sped it up. It looked like.
Right.
Yeah, he made another. He did a good stop move on Price. Got his feet turned, going upfield. Got his body turned and stopped on him real quick, but must not got his head around quick enough to be able to adjust to the ball.
Price and Will Davis, some of the cornerbacks who are trying to find spots on this roster as depth on the depth chart. Quick little toss out of the backfield, complete inside the 30-yard line. Nice play by Julian Wilson to track down the ball carrier on the play.
Yeah, like you said, there's a lot of guys out there that this may be their last plays in the NFL with the cut down coming, and they know it. So they're out there trying to make plays.
I would be trying to make a play not only for the Ravens but for other ball clubs. This film will go out to every team, and those scouts will be looking at you to see if you can fit their scheme and what they do.
Orlovsky's pass is deflected and it falls incomplete. And I think Brent Urban got his hand on it again. I'll tell you, Brent Urban is the kind of guy who becomes a secret weapon because with his size, we know he can block field goals. He can probably block extra points, so you rarely see that. And now tonight we've seen him swat two passes at the line of scrimmage. He changes the shape of a passing lane, even for a tall quarterback like Orlovsky.
He takes away a passing lane. I mean, it's like being a tree in the middle of the passing lane, and you end up throwing the ball maybe a little high, overthrowing the receiver, and that ends up being interception. So even if he doesn't hit it, he does change the game that way.
Devin Bell, a rookie free agent out of Mississippi State, with a 47-yard field goal try, a knuckler, and it is no good. So the Ravens will have a good field position when we get back. It is preseason after all. 13:41 left to play. Ravens up on the Ravens Game Day Network. Rescuing you live from the Verizon broadcast booth. Brent Harris down on the field. The Ravens lead at 23-6. Josh Johnson checking in at quarterback. We check in with Brent, who is down on the field with the defensive tag team of Smith and Suggs.
You didn't ask about Ballin. Oh, Ballin. Hey, guys. Jimmy was just doing my job there for a second. Not bad interviewing Terrell. So what did you get out of that? What did you learn from Suggs?
Just right now? He's a fool. Nah, he just like to talk. He talks his corners up.
Look, this is a defense last year over the last 8 games. That secondary played so well. What was the emphasis going into training camp for you guys?
We had a lot of big plays put on us early in the year, so emphasis going into camp is to eliminate the big plays. And if you eliminate the big plays, we had a good defense last year.
I want to ask you about that other cornerback across from you, Sharice Wright. You guys not only good friends, you played on the same high school football team. Pretty long odds that you would make it on the same team and both be starting corners, and what that friendship means.
I mean, it's just a really good feeling to have somebody you know that well in your same city, able to watch film with and play on the same team, obviously, from high school to now. So it's a tremendous feeling just to have him on the other side. But that relationship is it's the one that lasts forever.
Talk about a defense working in unison. The pass rush has been there through the preseason. You have the leadership with Webb and Weddle in the back end. How good can this defense be?
We're going to see. We're going to have a big test the first week. They're going to test us pretty much in the secondary with the receivers, so we're going to see what type of team we have.
All right, be honest. How many yards a game in high school did you guys give up in the air?
I don't think teams really try to throw on us too often. They more try to run it on us.
Just don't throw it on these two. Jerry, back to you.
All right, Brent, thank you very much. Ever since the arrival of Eric Weddle, it seems like everybody has a beard in the secondary.
Well, yeah, they should. It'll be part of it.
Fear the beard.
Ladarius Webb, he came in with one the other day when we were talking to him, and looked like a pretty good one.
Looked like Rockets guard James Harden.
Yes, he did.
Eric Weddle, of course, the ringleader with the beards. And the beard is the thing. I mean, that's a man beard. That's a straight up
mountain man beard.
You know, back to what Jimmy was talking about, your relationship with your high school teammates may be the strongest of any that you had. You grew up together. You went to grade school together, middle school together, high school. You know, I still have some relationship with college guys, but you come from all over the place. You come in there and you're there for 3 or 4 years. You didn't grow up with those guys, you know, so the high school teammate is a very, very strong relationship.
Players out of bounds, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Defense number 29. 15 yards out at the end of the play, first down.
Josh Johnson's conversion to Daniel Brown picked up the first down, and then after he had stepped out of bounds, a really late hit. So the Ravens want to get great field position now as they're on the move. Josh Johnson at quarterback. And we talked earlier about this. Josh Johnson is a guy who has played so well in this preseason. He has to land on somebody's roster. He's a veteran, an 8-year veteran in the NFL. He's had stops with Tampa Bay, Cleveland, Cincinnati, San Fran, Buffalo, and Indy. Buccaneers 5th-round pick in 08. Hands it off to Buck Allen. Not much there for Buck Allen. But because Johnson has played so well, and Ryan Mallett has played well, other teams who are looking for quarterbacks are going to come. I promise you, Ozzie Newsome is going to get a call. Somebody's going to call on Ryan Mallett. Somebody's going to get a call about Josh Johnson because these guys belong in the league.
You know, you're talking about 2 guys that have produced in the preseason. It's going to be relevant in the minds of GMs that are going to be looking at owners and saying, I don't want to be the guy that's fired because I don't have a quarterback to give to my head coach.
Call 1-800-OZZIE, and he will talk to you about a quarterback. 2nd down and 10 for Josh Johnson. Hands it off to Stephen Houston. Stephen Houston, a first-year player out of Indiana. He was signed during the first week of training camp when several of the running backs were going down with some hamstring and other small injuries.
And Houston released Trent Richardson at that point, and he's got his number that Trent had.
Houston's done a nice job trying to make the most again of his opportunity. Again, look, players count numbers. They know.
They do all the time.
They do what we do and say, okay, these 5 guys have definitely made the team. Here's how many jobs that are open. The players do that. Psychologically, it's hard not to do that. Josh Johnson looking to throw on 3rd down, avoids a rush. He will scramble to the 15 and is stacked up along the far sideline. It'll be close to a first down. This will come down to where they spot it.
What Josh Johnson has done with his performance, I think, and I think they have a lot of confidence in him, is give them the option of making a trade if somebody gives them a good offer. I mean, if Josh Johnson wasn't here, they wouldn't have that option at all. And you know how much they like to stack, draft choices. So if they could get one for one of those two quarterbacks, it gives them the option. Yes.
1st and 10 of the Grillmates red zone. Buck Allen on the sweep will pick up 2 down to the 10-yard line. I'm just going to throw out a scenario. The first game of the regular season is against Tyrod Taylor, John Harbaugh's former backup quarterback, and the Buffalo Bills. Josh Johnson, much more similar in style to a Tyrod Taylor. Does that come into the equation when you think about the guys who are going to help you prepare for games?
I can see that to a certain degree, and obviously you're trying to gain every competitive advantage possible. So it wouldn't put it past me to see them try to prepare for opening day quarterback, the likes of Tyrod, who runs, and you got a guy who can emulate that.
So maybe you keep 3 quarterbacks for the first part of the season. Buck Allen on the screen. He'll dart inside the 5. He'll be down close to the 4, just shy of a first down with under 9 minutes left to play. And these are all the decisions you have to factor in. Do you keep 3 quarterbacks because you're facing a mobile quarterback? Do you keep 2? How many tight ends? John Harbaugh and Ozzie Newsome have some intense conversations in the days ahead.
Well, I guarantee you they've already started preparing for the Buffalo Bills. They've been preparing for them the whole offseason. You always do that for your opening game.
Sure.
And I'm sure Josh Johnson has played Tyrod in a lot of those scout teams.
Josh Johnson rolls out to the right. He throws complete. It'll be good for the first down, but shy of the touchdown as Buck Allen lost his footing as he reached up to make the catch.
Well, I don't know if he lost his footing or so much as Josh said, "Here, take that one." Put a little extra hot sauce on that pass. I mean, he was just right there, kind of just sent it to him. Could have put it right there in front of him as opposed to over top of his head. He might have just walked into the end zone. Josh knows it. Darn it.
He wanted a touchdown pass. Now you know they're going to run it in. Quarterbacks are always like that.
Hey, man, I can audible out of it, though, and run it in myself.
Josh Johnson
not the same, though.
Personnel confusion. He takes a timeout. 7:52 left to play in the ball game. And look, I understand from a fan's perspective with Joe Flacco out of the game and Eric Weddle and Terrell Suggs out of the game, some of the drama is removed. But for the players who have been in Owings Mills throughout the offseason, throughout training camp, there are 15 players who have to be thinking, I might not be on this roster this week. The rosters get cut down from 90 to 75. How heavy does that weigh on a young player's mind at this point in the game, Q?
Think about it. I mean, this is what you've dreamed about, to put on a professional uniform, and you're in the thick of it now. But, a lot of things go through your mind. How did I do in the offseason? How did I feel as far as, learning the plays? What mistakes did I make? How could I have done a better job? Potentially, you have a chance to get on someone's practice squad. Potentially, you have to get on somebody's active roster. These are things that go through your mind. How can you get better as a player?
Steven Houston, the deep back. Josh Johnson will keep it from the goal line, pushes the pile forward. The officials converge, and there's the signal. Touchdown, Ravens, as they extend their lead.
Yes, that is basically what you're looking at. When you're that close, you might as well go ahead and punch it on there, Josh.
Well, I know my rookie year, Jerry, I went through it 6 times in the preseason. There was a cut after every, because we had 100 and some people in camp, and it was a cut after every play, after every game. With Josh Johnson strong, I mean, he's a good runner to begin with. He's going to get in on that. He did a great job. Again, he comes in and performs, and tell you what, every time he's been called on, he's performed. But back to, it's a feeling. I told you before, I always go to look at your dad every Monday to see if he look at me or not.
Yeah, I used to do that too growing up. Will Lutz with the extra point. His kick is good. 7:46 to play in the ball game. Our score now: Ravens 30, Lions 6 on the Ravens Game Day Network. Dan Q and you live from the Verizon broadcast booth, where the Ravens lead the Lions 30-6 with 7:46 left to play. Ravens fans, check out the new Maryland Lottery Ravens scratch-off games. You can win up to $100,000 instantly. There are great second chance prizes too, like Ravens season tickets for 20 years or a trip with the team to an away game. Buy Ravens scratch-offs at your favorite Maryland Lottery retailer today. Hey, Papa John sends us free merchandise. Maybe Maryland Lottery can start doing the same thing.
Come on, give us
one head down to the field. Brent Harris is standing by with Ravens wide receiver Mike Wallace. Brent, we'll check in after the kickoff, but Brent, when you talk with Mike Wallace, you might want to know 3 receptions, 37 yards. We're going to check in with Brent and Mike after the break following this kickoff, which Jace Billingsley returns out of the end zone across the 10, 15, heading to the far side, 20. Chris Moore tracking him down and runs him out of bounds as Jace Billingsley is taken down shy of the 40-yard line. We'll hear from Brent and Mike Wallace when we come back. 7.5 to play. Ravens up. Jerry Stan, QNU, live from the Verizon broadcast booth. Brent Harris with us down on the field. He is joined by Ravens receiver Mike Wallace.
Jerry, thank you very much. Newest Raven Mike Wallace. Give us an idea what the transition has been like, what it's been like working on your chemistry with quarterback Joe Flacco.
Oh, it's been great. You know, I've been having a great time, having some great teammates, great coaches. Like this new field, though, it's perfect. And Joe's been doing a great job. You know, he makes everybody else's job easy.
That wide receiver group is so deep, and obviously Steve Smith hasn't even really been on the field yet. How good can this group be?
We can be really good. Like you said, Steve, but Brashad hasn't been out there either, and we'll be getting him back really soon. He's back at practice, you know, so he's getting ready to play. It's crazy how we go from having like 6 guys one day to like 12. So, and you know, I think we can be one of the best groups in the league, if not the best. You know, but we have a long ways to go. We have a lot of work to put in, but we do have enough guys to do it.
All right, Mike, be honest. As a former Steeler, what is it like being on this side? Obviously, that rival game's going to come up at some point. There'll be some emotions, but what is it like being in Baltimore?
I don't know, but you know, it's been a great transition so far. You know, and it reminds me of Pittsburgh a lot here. You know, 2 great organizations. You know, great football history, great tradition. You know, hard-working, hard-nosed organization. So you know, that's what makes the transition easy. And you know, I knew that from afar before I even came here. What type of program it was over here. You can see that from a mile away. And, you know, I've been having a great time. Like I said, great teammates, great coaches, just a great atmosphere. And they really know football around here. So that just makes everything even more fun.
Obviously, great reasons why to be in Baltimore. What ultimately was the reason that you picked over all the other reasons to play for the Ravens?
Honestly, when I looked at the teams who threw the ball the most, Baltimore was number 1. And they had Joe Flacco, the guy who throws it. I figure the best deep ball in football. You know, so, you know, I just wanted to get back to doing that a little bit and just have a lot of opportunities to make plays. And I think this gave me the best chance to do that.
Being on this side, Jerry, of that Ravens-Steelers rivalry, we know Mike Wallace can go get a deep ball. We've seen it before. Back to you.
Thank you, gentlemen. And we hope to see a lot of deep balls that lead to touchdowns by Mike Wallace. Keenan Reynolds deep to receive the punt. Signals fair catch, but can't track the ball down. The Lions will down it at the 29-yard line. So the opportunity he was hoping for doesn't come to pass for the former Navy star. Ravens lead it 30-6 on the Ravens game. Ravens lead it. Just under 7 minutes left to play. Jeff Triplett's crew calling a penalty on the punt return that backs the Ravens up inside their 20-yard line. We're waiting for the official word on what the infraction was.
There was a little pushing and shoving going on
the previous play. There was holding by the receiving team, number 38. That's a 10-yard penalty, first down.
So Josh Johnson and the Ravens will start their drive back at the 17-yard line. The offensive play of the game, we'll go back to late in the first half. Ryan Mallett to Jeremy Butler. There's 2 guys who have had really strong summers.
Yes, Jeremy Butler, 2nd week in a row where he's shown up and made a big play. Saw what he did last week against the Colts with Josh Johnson throwing him a touchdown, and now this week with the beautiful catch on a go route. Ryan Mallett laid it out there, and just way to be able to separate and create for yourself and put yourself on the radar. You're either going to be on this team or somebody's team. Either Ryan Mallett and Jeremy Butler. Both guys did a fine job this preseason.
Yeah, in a quarterback-driven league, the Ravens have an obviously a phenomenal starter, Joe Flacco, but they have 2 really top-shelf backups to consider. Inside handoff to Steven Houston, running along the hash marks, gets it out to the 23-yard line.
John Harbaugh, when we talked to him the other day, was just talking about Jeremy Butler, how he does it every day, not just in the game, but in practice. He shows up every day. He makes a play that draws your attention every day.
And he's the kind of player that John Harbaugh really likes because he's an overachiever. He's a consistent overachiever.
Right.
You always hear John Harbaugh talk about stacking practices, which is the coaching terminology for you don't just have a great Monday and then you disappear on Tuesday. It's the same level day after day after day. Josh Johnson on 3rd down fires a pass complete on the far sideline. Chuck Jacobs was the target. And that'll bring the punt team on as Sam Cook will come on with just under 5.5 minutes left to play.
Talk about stacking those days. That's where you know you've put the time in and effort in as far as physically preparing yourself, but there's also the mental component. Coaches want to depend upon you during the regular season. Can you be relied upon if you're the guys like Jeremy Butler, where you might not get the looks that you're getting in practice because you're not on the first team, but you're ready to go in there and produce during the games?
Sam Cook with his sidewinder punt. Jace Billingsley fields it at the 32, and he is dropped right there. Excellent coverage by Carrington Bindum, a defensive back trying to somehow crack the code of this roster in a very crowded unit. Bindum with a nice special teams coverage. If you're going to make the team and you are on the outside of the numbers, you almost always make it by being versatile on special teams.
Oh yeah, you know that when you're outside those numbers, yes, you are the guy that's going to be out there on the special teams, and you know Jerry Rosberg can either give you a thumbs up or thumbs down as far as if he wants you on his ball club.
Lions drive starts with 5:18 left to play. Jake Ruddick at quarterback going with the deep ball, and it is broken up.
Jerry Rosberg
Price on the coverage.
Yeah, good job.
Jerry
He looked for the ball.
Teams coach.
He looked for the ball and did a good job of getting his hand on it. He almost missed it. What's that you call it?
Kinesthetic awareness.
Kinesthetic awareness. That's like body control, right?
There you go.
There you go.
Second down and 10. Washington tries to get around the edge, and he is unable to get far. He hurdled.
Or did he?
Check out George Wynn hurdled.
It looked like he just raised his lead leg up. Didn't necessarily complete the hurdling action.
Cavell Connor, a 7-year veteran out of Clemson. So it's not all rookies and veteran or first-year free agents. There are some veterans in the mix here trying to find a way to stick on a roster in the NFL. Guys who've been around for several years. Ruddick's pass over the middle is broken up on third down. Nice coverage there by Julian Wilson, a second-year defensive back out of Oklahoma. He suffered a season-ending leg injury during rookie minicamp a year ago, trying to make the most of his opportunity here in the waning minutes of week 3 in the preseason. And here comes Keenan Reynolds, the former Navy quarterback star, just down the road in Annapolis, who has been waiting for that big play in preseason. He has not been able to make a catch or return a punt for yards so far in the preseason. Would love to get an opportunity here.
Kick it to him. Come on. That's a returnable one.
Reynolds settles under it at the 25, running right up to get to the 30. And he'll extend the play out to the 38-yard line. For Keenan Reynolds, a 13-yard punt return, and he finally gets the chance to get his hands on the ball and get a little bit of yardage going. I know he wanted more, but it's a start.
It's a start
for the former midshipman. Let's take a look at that defensive play of this game. And for a second week in a row, those honors are going to go to Anthony Levine.
Yeah, had the interception, did a great job of backing up and taking the crossing route. He had the sack earlier. He just keeps making plays in a lot of different positions.
Josh Johnson at quarterback has Buck Allen with him in the backfield. Second-year running back out of USC. Buck Allen off right tackle. Pushes the ball across the 40-yard line. For our radio partners on tonight's simulcast, we pause 10 seconds for station identification on the Ravens Game Day Network. 4:10 left to play here in Baltimore with the Ravens in front of the Lions. 30-6. It's just time for the offense to put this away. And that's what John Harbaugh will look to the run game to do.
Yeah, this is what's called the 4-minute drill. We just hit the 4-minute mark. You try to run out the clock, either by running the ball or completing those short passes and just moving the sticks.
For a third week in a row, the Ravens over 100 yards rushing as a team. They're 129 tonight. Johnson goes up top far sideline. He was looking for Chris Moore, overthrew him, well covered on the play.
Yeah,
Chris Moore, the 4th-round draft pick out of Cincinnati, has been eye-popping. He just shows the playmaking ability, He was injured early in the preseason. We didn't see him until last week. In the 2-minute drill at the end of the first half, all of a sudden he looked like a veteran. He just showed up and knew how to make plays.
I love the way he attacked the ball, snatched the ball out of the air, ran some decisive routes, separated from the defender, you know, did all the things that you need to do as far as checking off the list as a receiver that gets it. And he sure showed up in that 2-minute drill.
Keenan Reynolds in the slot to the left, looking for his first pass reception of preseason. It'll be Stephen Houston on the carry. Nice hole, and he is out to midfield, but a penalty flag follows him to the ground.
And that hold means holding.
Yeah, it's a shame. That would have been a third down run, 3rd and 8 run for a first down.
Holding, number 68, offense. 10-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Matt Skura, a rookie free agent out of Duke. So Reynolds knows he's going to have to do something other than make a play or two. He's going to have to do something at every play. And the former quarterback, who's known as a runner, shows not bad blocker.
Yeah, that was good.
Blocking.
Yeah, you do have the that's what they call it, stop blocking, and you do have to do your duty to help out the running game. All big plays that are 20 yards or more, usually it's the receiver blocking down the field, and good job by the young man.
We talked with John Harbaugh about Keenan Reynolds, and he said he's everything you want in a young man on your football team. He's smart, he's hardworking, he's a quality guy. He said he's learning fast. Got a good feeling that he has a future here. Stephen Houston on the carry, fumbles it. The Lions recover it and head down the far sideline inside the 20 is Cassine Green with the ball, and he is finally pushed out of bounds. But not until he gets all the way inside the red zone, and the Ravens with their first turnover of the night. So the young players who are looking for a roster spot, Stephen Houston making the cardinal mistake. John Harbaugh preaches ball security. Houston turns it over.
That was just a wicked hit that you just got to realize as a young player you can't have. I mean, Thomas Hammock, the running backs coach, he's sitting there talking to him like, look, bro, high and tight is where it's at. Just can't have that. You know it. I know it. Can't do it.
So a sinking feeling for Stephen Houston as he leaves the ball on the turf and gives the Lions the ball inside the Ravens 10. 1st and goal from the 9. George Wynn in the backfield. Ruddock to throw under pressure, hit and dropped. Sacked. That's another sack for Science from Constellation as Victor Ochi, the rookie free agent out of Stony Brook, gets the Ravens' 4th sack of the night.
Yeah, he's the guy we've talked about last week when you said who has a chance to make this team as an undrafted free agent. Probably nobody because of 11 draft choices. But if there's anybody, if you can rush the passer, you have a spot in this league. And Victor Ochi was able to do it there.
Backs Ruddock and the Lions up to the 15-yard line. Ruddock throwing to the far side in the end zone. It is bobbled and caught, but out of bounds. Coming down with the ball, Quinshaw Davis, and he was well covered by Will Davis.
Yeah, Will Davis did a good job of getting his hand on the ball, but it almost, you only can get 1 foot in.
Yeah.
Good concentration by the receiver, but if you're going to back that thing, bat it hard.
Yes. 2 feet in.
Bat that thing up.
Yeah, get it out of there.
No, bat that thing down. We don't want any A.J. Greens around here.
Yeah, bat it sideways out of bounds.
Flashback to horrific memories.
Yes.
3rd down and goal from the 15. Blitz pressure coming up the middle. Ruddock's pass is bobbled and dropped by Jace Billingsley. And the Lions looking at a 4th and goal.
Good coverage. That would have been a tackle for a couple-yard gain anyhow. The Ravens brought full pressure on that, and you knew it was going to be a quick pass, so they had the tight coverage. We talk about pressure, tight coverage. Those two things go together. See the blitz coming, a free blitzer, you have to get rid of it. You know that defensively. You stay real tight. Don't worry about the up route.
So Devin Bell on to attempt a 33-yard field goal try. A rookie free agent out of Mississippi State. Jim Caldwell giving him a chance to score, make up for his knuckler earlier, and he delivers for the Lions. 2:32 left to play, and the Lions now down 30-9. John Harbaugh saw a mistake by Stephen Houston, the running back, who put the ball on the ground, and that is something that John Harbaugh has no patience for.
None.
Want to go back to last summer when Buck Allen had a fumble in preseason. That put him in the doghouse.
Talifero the year before when
Yes.
He was really doing a good job. Then he fumbled a couple times. It was the Pittsburgh game, right? That he had the big fumble in to turn the tide of the game, and didn't see a whole lot of him for several weeks.
John Harbaugh talking with Terrence Brooks, the young safety. His role on this team likely expanding with the injury to Matt Elam. Elam out for several weeks following knee surgery. And John Harbaugh using a moment like this, where the outcome of this game really not in question, as a teaching moment. You go over so much practice, Stan, with players. Now you get game experience for a young safety like Terrence Brooks. What kind of things is he trying to make sure sinks in?
For Terrence Brooks, it's about, taking it to the next level. And, Dean Pease talked about what he needed to do and just show up and make more plays and get more plays under his belt.
Yeah, he's talking about, keeping your technique, reading what the defense of the offense is doing, reading the patterns. We talked to him a lot about the pattern read in zones. And a lot of these guys can play man, but they haven't perfected the zone play.
Kickoff taken by Chris Moore, but he has his foot on the end line. And that'll be a touchback. Ravens will have the ball at their 25-yard line. Well, the Ravens with their 360 replay, you get to see a play from every possible angle. The quick toss from Joe Flacco out of the backfield. Q, take us through it.
Yeah, the biggest thing, you just saw the pocket presence. It was good. It was solid. And at the same time, Joe Flacco getting rid of the football on time, in rhythm, to Justin Forsett. That was just an all-around great play. It looked basic, but when you're talking about moving the chains and getting in a good down and distance, you need to have everything work correctly.
Josh Johnson engineered a touchdown drive on his first possession. Stephen Houston will get the touch again and he'll hold on to the ball, but not for much of a gain. Yeah. Will likely take us to the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, when you looked at that 360, that's where that linebacker, DeAndre Levy, is a very good linebacker, very good coverage linebacker.
Oh, yeah.
But he tried to disguise the defense, and where he lined up, he wasn't in a position to cover Justin Forsett. Joe Flacco saw that quickly, knew that he would be open, and threw it to him, and he was right down the sideline.
Brings us to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes left to play in this third preseason game. The Ravens with a comfortable 30-9 lead on the Ravens Game Day Network.
Stay with us for the Ravens post-game show. A great night of football for the Ravens. What happened on the field, but also some devastating injuries. We'll get the latest on Ben Watson and Kenneth Dixon on the Ravens post-game show presented by Miller Lite. Now we'll head back upstairs to Jerry, Stan, and Q.
The RDP, we'll look forward to that following tonight's game. 2 minutes left to play here in regulation. Ravens in front 30-9. Josh Johnson just trying to finish this out with a run game. See if he can burn through some clock. Can't imagine Jim Caldwell is in any big rush to use his timeouts. Jerry, Stan, Q, and U live from the Verizon broadcast booth as we start to wind down this third preseason game. Cutdowns coming. Sunday at 4. Rosters have to be down to 75. Johnson rolls out to the right. He's going to tuck and slide. Stays in bounds alertly. Picks up only a yard or two, but he'll take time off the clock.
I think that was a planned rollout. Take a lot more time off the clock, and slide when you get there. If you got room, run it. They thought maybe they would overload to try to stop the run and not have a backside contained man, but they had somebody there, so he just slid.
If you happen to catch the shot of the line judge, that's Sarah Thomas in her second year now as an NFL official. She was the first full-time female official in the NFL. Graded up very highly last year, and got to give her a lot of credit because she broke the glass ceiling as the first NFL official who is a female, and she held her own. If you watch her during the course of the game, she does not get intimidated by coaches, by players. She knows the rule book as well as anybody, and she has the presence, which is a big part of officiating, to not only hold your own, but to know when to ignore comments from coaches and when to engage.
Yeah, there's no doubt you have to prove yourself. You probably have to prove yourself even more because they know you've probably never played the game before. So it's interesting that she's done so well.
Sam Cook will punt the ball away to Jace Billingsley in this final minutes of the third preseason game. Cook hits a low wobbler that will bounce out of bounds inside the 20-yard line.
Perfect.
One of the 20 punts that Sam Cook has in his arsenal. I was talking with Sam earlier this week, and I said, okay, exactly how many different punts do you have? And he said roughly 20. They each have their own name. They each have their own strategic point at which they will use them. You know, the long, high, tight spiral, but he also has the end over end, the rugby style. He has a sidewinder. He has a boomerang punt. That punt you saw like there several years ago, you'd say it came off the side of his foot. That is an intentional, low, wobbling punt. It's used to get the return man away from the ball, and then he tries to get it to trickle out of bounds, which he played it perfectly there.
Yeah, in fact,
Lions will go to the ground game for the final play from scrimmage. And we're going to run it out from here with 19 seconds left. Clock running. The Hayes in the barn for the third time in the preseason, as the Ravens will run their record in August to 3-0, defeating the Lions tonight 30-9. So when we get to our final seconds here, Pete Gilbert will take over on TV side with the post-game show. Q Stan and I will have you company over on the radio side as John Harbaugh will greet his former offensive coordinator Jim Caldwell at midfield. And the Ravens now will turn their attention to New Orleans for the preseason finale, and then Buffalo for the regular season opener on September 11th. Let's head down to the field. Brett Harris is standing by with a Ravens player.
Jerry, thank you very much. With Jeremy Butler, and Coach Harbaugh has talked this entire preseason about finding playmakers. Second week in a row for a touchdown. How good does that feel?
I feel good, just putting the hard work in the week and then coming out here having fun, letting it all hang loose.
Obviously, this preseason, 13 catches, lead the team right now in preseason catches. How important is that for you?
I don't really think about the numbers or the stats. I just go out there and have fun, lay it all out.
Obviously, this game, you had Joe Flacco back under center. How great was it to see part of what this offense can be?
Great. You know, him getting his confidence back, that's a big part. You know, he's our leader. As he go, we go. So to get him back out there and get him back full speed, that's definitely good for our team.
Jeremy, great game. 4 catches and a score. Send it back upstairs.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Jeremy, as the Ravens win it tonight in Baltimore, 30-9, the final score over the Lions. Terrell Suggs back in the field, Joe Flacco back in the spotlight, and the Ravens back in the win column tonight on the Ravens Game Day Network.